Chapter 397. Before Zhu Yi became Lin Feng's disciple, he studied hard himself and already obtained the title of scholar. This time he's going to take the exam again. He's going to participate in the Zhou dynasty's exam at the beginning of spring. If he passes, then he can obtain the title of scholar. If he didn't become Lin Feng's disciple, according to Zhu Yi's original life path, he would have studied 3 years ago. If he became a scholar, then he would be able to leave the house of the Marquis of Xuanji, move out and have his own business. But right now those things naturally don't need to be mentioned. Unless Lin Feng completely falls out with the Zhou dynasty, otherwise right now Zhu Yi can already come and go as he pleases in the house of the Marquis of Xuanji. He himself is already a cultivator in the middle stage of the Golden Elixir realm. His actual battle prowess is even comparable to the Yuanying ancestor. This kind of strength already surpasses all of his father Zhu Hongwu's sons. The experts in the house of the Marquis, even the head steward Zhang Hai, may not be his opponent now. In the entire house of the Marquis of Xuanji, the only one who can beat Zhu Yi is his father, the Marquis of Xuanji. After the Desolate Sea Assembly last year ended, the Zhou dynasty already sent people to prepare Zhu Yi's exam identity document and send it to Zhu Yi. Right now he only needs to concentrate on the exam. After passing the exam at the beginning of spring, it will be the autumn exam in half a year. After passing the exam, he can obtain the title of scholar. Zhu Yi's wish all this time will also be fulfilled. Actually, after studying under Lin Feng for so long and understanding a bit more about his mother in the past, whether or not he goes for the exam and the title of scholar, for Zhu Yi, it already doesn't have much meaning. The reason Zhu Yi is participating in the exam this time is mostly to make his state of mind even more perfect. At his current level, the effect of simply sitting and cultivating is not obvious. Purely relying on grinding, it takes an extremely long time and gets half the result with twice the effort. In the process of Zhu Yi's cultivation, the principles of a scholar and the principles of a cultivator are fused together. This time's exam is a test of his knowledge, and at the same time it is also a sharpening of his cultivation. If everything went smoothly, then it was very likely that his Dao art realm would rise a level because of this. Lin Feng had always been happy to see his disciples take a different path in cultivation and walk a path that belonged to them. Right now, the relationship between Xianmen Tianzong and the Great Zhou dynasty was still in the honeymoon phase, and there were no major conflicts of interest. Therefore, Lin Feng did not intend to personally go to the capital of the Great Zhou dynasty, Tianjing City. Although he was very interested in visiting Zhou Emperor Liang Pan and Zhu Yi's father, the time was not ripe yet. Shi Tianhao, Tunten, Zhuge Fengling, and the rest had been silent for a long time. They wanted to follow Zhu Yi to Tianjing City. Zhu Yi glanced at them and said with a smile, "If you guys go, I'm worried that the entire Tianjing City will be destroyed, and there will be no peace." "Second senior brother, you worry too much." Shi Tianhao looked at Zhu Yi and said with a smile, "I've been thinking, senior brother, that the articles you've been reading these days are probably the 8 trigrams Taoist canon of Yi's annotations and the 8 trigrams Divine Evolution Golden Chapter, right? Now that you've picked up your brush and started writing poems and scriptures again, I wonder if they're still effective." Zhu Yi smiled. "They're at my fingertips." Shi Tianhao gave him a thumbs up and said with a smile, "When I was very young, I came to Tianjing City with my master once, but I didn't stay long before I left again. This time, I can take a good look at this majestic city." Tunten added, "The key is to look around and see if there's anything good to eat." Shi Tianhao rolled his eyes. "You only know how to eat all day, can't you think of something else?" Tunten pointed at him and scolded, "Anyone can say that about me, but you can't." Shi Tianhao snorted. "Why can't I? I was a glutton in the past. I've grown up now, and I'm no longer the same as you." Beside him, Zhu Yi, Yu Hongyan, Yang Qing and the others all smiled. Shi Tianhao curled his lips and said, "Don't look at me like that. If you don't believe me, you can go and see the good things raised in the desolate Sky Valley. I only go there occasionally to satisfy my cravings." Tunten, who was about to explode, suddenly smiled and looked in the direction of the desolate Sky Valley. "Since that's the case, give me all those things." In your dreams. Shi Tianhao said unceremoniously. I'd rather raise them and give birth. He grabbed Tunten and said resolutely, I'm going to Tianjing City with second senior brother this time. You have to come too, or I'll have to trouble master to look after you again. Tunten waved its hands and feet and struggled. I'm not going, I want to stay on the mountain. Everyone looked at the pair of clowns and shook their heads with a smile. Jun Zining sat on the side, holding her cheeks as she stared blankly into the distance. She turned her head to look at Shi Tianhao and Tunten, shaking her head and sighing. Shi Tianhao glanced at her. Are you going? Jun Zining thought for a moment and said reluctantly, I heard that Tianjing City is pretty good. I've never been there, but, without waiting for her to finish, the little Shi Tianhao nodded. Okay, I understand. I won't bring you. Jun Zining's eyes widened as she looked at Shi Tianhao in disbelief. Shi Tianhao smiled, his face full of a matter-of-fact expression. Generally speaking, no matter how many things are said before, when the words but, and but appear, it means that the meaning before is negated. Since you don't want to go, then don't go. Jun Zining was tongue-tied. Heaven was her witness, she just wanted to show a little bit of her girl's modesty. Looking at the little one who was snickering and the bitter Jun Zining, Yang Qing shook her head and smiled. Tianhao has always said that he has grown up, but now it seems, Zhu Yi smiled. Little junior brother is only like this when he is with us. When he really goes out, he is indeed different from before. He said softly, aren't we the same? It always feels much more relaxed when we are together. Yang Qing nodded in agreement. On the other side, Yu Hongyan was silent. She only came to see Zhu Yi off, not to go to Tianjing City with the little one like Shi Tianhao. Lin Feng looked at her. After a moment of silence, Yu Hongyan said, Disciple is afraid that I won't be able to control myself. It was not that Yu Hongyan had never set foot on the land of the great Zhou dynasty before. She had even entered Tianjing City, but at that time, she had a clear goal, and that was to kill. If she went with them this time, she definitely could not act rashly. The stifling feeling would make her extremely irritable. In particular, the national strength of the great Zhou dynasty was flourishing, and Tianjing City was the capital city. The living standards of the people should be relatively good, and the scene in the city was bustling. Under such circumstances, thinking of her own destroyed country, the contrast made it easier for Yu Hongyan to become angry. Lin Feng did not intend to force Yu Hongyan to go with them. Although from a certain point of view, this was actually a kind of training for Yu Hongyan's mind, this kind of training was too inhumane. Whether you go or not, it's all up to you. Lin Feng said indifferently, it's also good to stay on the mountain and work hard on your cultivation. The stronger you are, the easier it will be to achieve the goal in your heart. Hongyan, you have a tough personality and are not afraid of death. The test of your state of mind when you form your gold core, the difficulty of life and death is not too difficult for you. As long as you have accumulated a lot of mana and cultivation, and your understanding of the mysteries of your body and spirit reaches a very detailed level, you can try to break through to the golden elixir realm. Yu Hongyan nodded her head forcefully. From the meaning revealed in Lin Feng's words, she could clearly feel that Lin Feng did not oppose her taking revenge. This was enough. The rest was just as Lin Feng said. The stronger you are, the easier it will be to achieve the goal in your heart. On the other side, after a period of laughter, the discussion was settled. In the end, besides Yu Hongyan and Xiao Yan, who stayed on the mountain for closed-door cultivation, Yang Qing also expressed that he did not want to leave the mountain. He was more willing to go to the medicine valley to take care of various spirit medicines and flowers. Therefore, Zhu Yi transferred his disciples and Li Xingfei, whom Wang Lin had entrusted to him, to Yu Hongyan and Yang Qing for the time being. Shi Tianhao, Tunten, Zhuge Fengling, and Jun Zining all decided to go to Tianjing City together. Zhu Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at the little guy, Shi Tianhao, and the others with an amused expression. The four of them laughed together and said, Don't worry, second senior brother. You do your test, we'll play with ours. Zhu Yi smiled and shook his head. Forget it. If I don't keep an eye on you, I don't know how much trouble you'll cause. Amidst everyone's laughter, Lin Feng rode Mount Yujing through the void and left the Kunlun mountain range. Soon, they arrived at the Great Zhou Empire. He did not control Mount Yujing to leave the void and only sent Zhu Yi and the others down. Although he did not need to personally support his disciples this time, Lin Feng still made sufficient preparations. In addition to leaving spatial coordinates on Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, and the others, Lin Feng also sent King Kuei Niu and King Feilian to accompany them. After almost half a year of taming, King Feilian was completely obedient and was willing to be a mount for Zhu Yi and the others. The one-legged Bull King and the Feilian King were at the middle stage of the Demon King realm, while the other was at the early stage of the Demon King realm. With these two great demons accompanying them as their mounts, not only would their strength be enhanced, but they would also be able to look impressive and hold the fort. This also made Zhu Yi feel touched. After bidding farewell to Lin Feng, he went to Tianjing City, which he had not seen for many years. Thinking back to the past, he felt high-spirited and proud. After sending off Zhu Yi and the others, Lin Feng stood on Mount Yujing and thought, since I'm here, there's a place I must go. He rode Mount Yujing through the void and released his divine sense to connect with the Great Thousand World to determine the terrain and location. We're here. Lin Feng controlled Yujing Mountain to stop and was in the air. His main body was still on the mountain, not moving, using his own mana to protect and send Tai Shu off Yujing Mountain. After leaving the void and returning to the Great Thousand World, an extremely majestic mountain range appeared in front of Lin Feng. It stretched for thousands of miles and seemed endless. Although it was not as big as the Kunlun mountain range, it was located in the middle of a plain and looked quite majestic. Lin Feng walked among the mountains and suddenly stopped after a long time. He looked up at the mountain in front of him and slowly let out a breath. Is this the sacred land of Buddhism, the ruins of the Great Tempest Monastery? Chapter 398. Between the peaks, there were broken walls and broken tiles everywhere. Occasionally, there were huge steel incense burners and the remains of statues. Huge wooden beams and pillars that required many people to wrap their arms around had long decayed. But looking at their huge appearance, one could imagine how magnificent they must have been in the past. There was a towering mountain with an entire side that was carved into the shape of a Buddha. But at this moment, only the two legs of the base remained. The upper part had been completely destroyed. But just the thickness of the feet of the Buddha was close to a height of 10 feet. One could imagine how huge the Buddha statue must have been. Even a cultivator would be shocked just thinking about it. If it was someone from the secular world, they would probably worship it immediately. But now, it was just a pile of ruins. Lin Feng believed that when the Buddha was complete in the past, it was not just an ordinary statue. It had a strong Buddhist nature and Buddhist power. It was the condensation of the prayers of all the Buddhist disciples in the world. It was pure and vast. Standing in front of the ruins of the Big Thunderclap Temple, Lin Feng had a strong feeling about the vicissitudes of life. The 10,000-year-old temple, the Great Thunder Temple that was one of the three great holy lands along with the Void Temple and the Shushan Sword Sect, the holy land of tens of thousands of Buddhist disciples. The temple was filled with experts and great powers, but in the end it was still destroyed, completely falling. It could only leave behind a sigh for those who came later. Looking at the ruins of the Big Thunderclap Temple in front of him, Lin Feng felt a strong sense of urgency. He kept on raising his guard. As powerful as the Temple of Thunder was, under the siege of so many heroes, it still ended up being destroyed. The celestial sect of Xian, which was still like a young seedling, didn't even need to be mentioned. One wrong step and they would be in danger. The Battle of Kunlun Mountain was just the beginning. Lin Feng walked slowly in the ruins. Looking at the completely desolate Big Thunderclap Temple, he felt the changes from prosperity to decline. Vajra Hall, Heavenly King Hall, Arhat Hall, Prajna Hall, Bodhi Hall. Along the way, Lin Feng saw more than a dozen plaques with names that he could still recognize. Roughly estimating, there were probably more than 1,000 courtyards in the Tempest Temple before it was destroyed. In the past, among the three great holy lands, Taishu Temple was a pure elite sect. Its disciples were relatively few in number, but every disciple was a genius among geniuses. There were many disciples in the Shushan sword sect, but the path of sword cultivation was easy at the beginning and difficult at the end. It was easy to get started, and one's combat power was strong in the same realm. However, the higher one went, the more difficult it would be to cultivate. Compared to the huge number of disciples, the great sword cultivators who could truly reach the Yuanying stage were relatively rare. All of them were extremely talented and had outstanding willpower. Generally speaking, the structure of the cultivators of the Mount Shu sword sect was in the shape of a standard pyramid. On the other hand, the big Thunderclap Temple opened its doors wide. As long as one was sincere to Buddha, one could be accepted as a disciple. Therefore, the number of disciples was the highest among the three great holy lands. At its peak, there were more than 100,000 disciples. The Buddhist techniques that the big Thunderclap Temple imparted to its disciples had a low requirement for one's foundation. The key was to look at one's willpower, as well as enlightenment. Therefore, although there were many disciples, the success rate was actually very high. The problem for the big Thunderclap Temple was that it was too difficult to truly cultivate the golden body of the primordial spirit. However, the middle and upper echelons of the Yuanying and Golden Elixir period were extremely powerful. At its peak, the big Thunderclap Temple was called 3,000 Arhats and 500 Enlightenment by the outside world. Arhat and Enlightenment were both karmic positions in Buddhism. The monks of the big Thunderclap Temple would not call themselves that. This was a saying that spread among the people of other forces. It was somewhat teasing, but it was also because they were shocked and even terrified. The so-called 3,000 Arhats and 500 Enlightenment meant that there were 3,000 Golden Elixir and 500 Yuanying. This saying might be a little exaggerated, especially when the number of Yuanying realm was largely exaggerated. However, one could also see the vigorous strength of the big Thunderclap Temple, especially the vigorous strength of the Golden Elixir period and Yuanying realm. In the past, there was a very popular saying that if rogue cultivators were not included, the number of Golden Elixir period and Yuanying realm cultivators of the big Thunderclap Temple was close to the total number of Golden Elixir and Yuanying realm cultivators of the other sects in the Divine Land. Although they were called the three great holy lands, in fact, in the eyes of the people at that time, there were differences between the holy lands. The Taishu Temple was the number one holy land since ancient times, and the second was the big Thunderclap Temple. Although the Mount Shu sword sect was not convinced, they could not do anything for a long time. Many people thought that if it was not for the low probability of Yuanying realm cultivators of the big Thunderclap Temple advancing to the primordial soul realm, with the huge number of Yuanying realm cultivators of the big Thunderclap Temple, they would have long replaced the Taishu Temple as the number one holy land. The previous war with the demon realm had greatly weakened the strength of the big Thunderclap Temple, but it was still a giant that attracted the attention of everyone in the Divine Land. Such a strong force happened to be located in the hinterland of the great Zhou dynasty. How could this not make Liang Pan and Zhu Hongwu feel as if there was a fishbone stuck in their throat? Lin Feng walked among the ruins of the temple and sighed softly. This kind of big Thunderclap Temple has made the radical faction in the Taishu Temple feel uneasy, but there are still many doubts. Why did the conservative faction in the Taishu Temple allow the war of Buddhist extermination to happen? Other than the war with the demon realm, the two most tragic wars in the divine land of the human cultivation world in the past 10,000 years were the war of righteousness and diabolism and the war of Buddhist extermination. These two wars directly changed the power structure of the divine land. The former completely established the situation of the rise of Taoism and the disappearance of diabolism. Since then, the diabolism became weak and completely became a rat that people wanted to kill. Even a giant like the reincarnation sect was gradually washed ashore. Even if the diabolism occasionally produced a few fierce and ambitious people who could shine for a while, they could not avoid the fate of being suppressed and exterminated in the end. The latter was the war of Buddhist extermination. From then on, the Buddhist Holy Land, the big Thunderclap Temple, was removed from the human cultivation world. The great Zhou dynasty alone would not be able to do this, no matter how many helpers he gathered. But with the intervention of the Shu Mountain Sword sect and the Taishu Temple, this seemingly impossible task finally became a reality. However, the price was extremely heavy. Back then, the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Hongguo, single-handedly trained a scale of 30,000 people. It was the strongest divine martial army in history. More than 20,000 people were forever sleeping in the mountains in front of them. And in the camp of the coalition army of Buddhist extermination, just the number of primordial spirit almighty cultivators that died was not a small number. The Shu Mountain Sword sect, which was also a holy land, had a total of 4 primordial spirit level sword venerables fall in this battle. Among them, there was even a great sword cultivator who had cultivated to the 2nd level of the primordial spirit level. And the great Zhou dynasty's losses were even more serious. If it was not for Liang Pan and Zhu Hongwu's ingenious and vicious methods, swallowing and digesting the majority of the spoils of this battle, the great Zhou dynasty would very likely not be able to recover from this setback. There was no need to mention their powerful position today. Among the spoils of war, I'm afraid this is the place. Lin Feng looked at the collapsed pagodas in front of him and sighed. This was the great Thunderclap Monastery's forest of pagodas. It was the burial place of generations of eminent monks and worshipped their ashes and relics. At this moment, these pagodas were completely destroyed, and the relics that were stored in them were also taken away by others. Buddhist almighty cultivators who had formed the primordial spirit golden body naturally had an unlimited lifespan. However, they could also be killed by external forces. The remains of the fallen Buddhist almighty cultivators would also be brought back to the great Thunderclap Monastery by their fellow disciples. In this forest of pagodas, there were even relics of Buddhist almighty cultivators who had formed the golden body. The relics contained the essence of the Buddhist almighty cultivators when they were alive. Now that these things had been dug away, one could imagine the outcome. Lin Feng opened his palm and 24 Buddhist relic beads appeared in the air. This was what he had obtained from a Buddhist disciple in the past. A hole silently appeared on the ground. Lin Feng placed all the Buddhist relic beads in his hand into the hole. Then, the hole silently disappeared. After doing all this, Lin Feng continued forward and circled to the other side of the pagoda forest. There was an extremely large hole in the ground there. The body of Lin Feng's iron tree clone suddenly started to tremble slightly. He was well aware that this deep pit was left behind by the Salo iron tree that was planted here back then. Back then, the divine martial immortal execution formation that forcibly broke the Vairocana formation was also destroyed by this Shura iron tree. Although the Shenwu army was too exhausted, the mature Shura iron tree was able to resist the attack of the formation. This was a testament to its power. Unfortunately, the tree was still destroyed in the end. Even its roots were completely broken, leaving behind this big hole. The Taishu clone slowly walked down the slope of the pit, all the way to the bottom, and then sat down cross-legged. Although it was completely destroyed, a centipede would never fall down. Even after more than 2 decades, this deep hole still contained the aura of the Shura iron tree from back then. It was very weak, but it truly existed. Silently sensing this aura, Lin Feng could clearly sense the slightest changes due to the fact that the Shura iron tree had the same origin as the Shura iron tree. He sat there for a long time. After a long time, Lin Feng suddenly opened his eyes one day. Without any warning, a large crack suddenly appeared in the void. A thick twisting bolt of lightning came crashing down on Lin Feng's head. His Shura iron tree clone was about to undergo a lightning tribulation and reach the Yuanying stage. Once it reached the Yuanying stage, the clone's strength would take a big step forward. Lin Feng calmly faced the bombardment of the lightning tribulation. He was neither anxious nor impatient. For the past half a year, he had left the Shura iron tree clone in the Black Heaven Time Light Grotto Heaven to cultivate. Under the 100-fold acceleration of time, he had already prepared for decades. He had accumulated abundant spiritual qi, and the Shura iron tree clone had enough capital, so he had a high chance of surviving the lightning tribulation. Moreover, Lin Feng's main body had survived the lightning tribulation and had experienced it. The Shura Iron Tree clone just needed to complete the final procedure and complete it. However, just as the Shura Iron Tree clone was undergoing the tribulation, Lin Feng suddenly sensed a malicious intent spying on him, as if it wanted to take advantage of his misfortune. That malicious intent exuded a deep aura of greed, viciousness, and cunning, making one feel very uncomfortable. Lin Feng ignored it and continued to focus on controlling the Shura Iron Tree clone to undergo the baptism of the Void Lightning Tribulation. The Shura Iron Tree clone's method of transcending the tribulation was the same as that of the demon race. It also released the golden elixir outside its body and directly received the bombardment of the lightning tribulation. When the lightning gradually subsided, the golden elixir of the Shura Iron Tree clone made a crisp sound, like a cracked egg. However, these cracks were not cracks of damage or destruction. Instead, they were filled with the aura of new life. Light seeped out of the cracks, and a fresh fragrance wafted out. At the same time, the malicious intent spying on him became more and more obvious, becoming restless. Chapter 399. A greedy, cruel, and vicious intent suddenly came from the void, spying on Lin Feng's metal tree clone that was undergoing the lightning tribulation. The metal tree clone was undergoing the lightning tribulation in the hole left behind by the mature Salo iron tree in the ruins of the Great Thunderclap Monastery. Under the resonance of its aura, it had already revealed its roots. A young Salo iron tree that had yet to cultivate into a demon was very attractive to anyone. However, that vicious, greedy, and malicious intent did not pounce at the first moment. Instead, it cautiously watched from the side. On one hand, after the metal tree clone had truly passed the lightning tribulation, its various qualities and abilities would rise to the next level, and its value would also increase. On the other hand, the other party had seen the uniqueness of the metal tree clone. Although it was undergoing the lightning tribulation in the manner of a demon, its mana waves were completely different from that of a demon. It was not the metal tree that had become a demon, but a human cultivator that had refined it into a clone. In this way, the strength of the original owner had become something that the other party had to consider. However, although the malicious intent was much more cautious because of this, the greed and possessiveness contained within was still incredibly strong, and it was not concealed in the slightest. Yuanying stage cultivation, human, at least late Yuanying stage. Lin Feng's heart moved, but he ignored it. The metal tree clone was still focused on undergoing the lightning tribulation. And at this moment, another extremely powerful mana wave suddenly came from afar. The Yuanying late-stage cultivator that was spying on Lin Feng with malicious intent was stunned for a moment. His aura wave revealed a flustered and fearful emotion. After swaying a few times, he slowly dispersed and disappeared. Lin Feng carefully sensed the powerful mana undulations that came later, having an idea in his heart, so it's an old acquaintance. That guy who wanted to take advantage of the situation before, looks like he also knows this person. Plus he also suffered a loss before, so he didn't dare to hesitate and directly slipped away. Although the powerful mana wave also stopped in mid-air, silently watching Lin Feng undergoing the lightning tribulation below, Lin Feng still did not care, silently welcoming the final impact of the lightning tribulation. At this moment, the golden elixir of the Iron Tree avatar had completely broken apart, revealing a ball of light and a sweet fragrance. Within the ball of light, there was a small sapling that was growing tender green buds. However, it was precisely this seemingly weak little sapling that could be blown down by a gust of wind that revealed an indestructible and eternally powerful concept. The silhouette slowly returned to the top of the Iron Tree clone's head. Although the Iron Tree clone had just experienced a lightning tribulation, the Iron Tree clone's body was brimming with energy as it stood up. It did not show any signs of weakness. A crack appeared in the void, and a person slowly walked out. He smiled and said, "I've seen it briefly in the North Wind Sea before, but I didn't expect that Sect Master Lin's avatar was refined from the Sarah Iron Tree." Lin Feng smiled. "Dao Master Changlu, it's a pleasure to meet you." The person who came was a smiling fat old man. His face was full of smiles, and he looked very amiable. However, this person was a true primordial soul realm powerhouse, Dao Master Changlu of the Great Qin dynasty. During the Desolate Sea Assembly, he, the Great Qin's King of Tranquility, Shi Zongyue, and the Lord of Gambling, Zhuge Guang, presided over the assembly as the host. He had met Lin Feng once. The fat old man had a good temper, and everyone got along well. Dao Master Changlu looked at the ruins of the Tempest Temple and sighed, "It's a pity that the ancient temple was destroyed in a day. What a pity, what a pity." Lin Feng smiled and did not speak. In the world, other than the disciples of the Buddhist sects, if there was a force that did not want the Tempest Temple to be destroyed, it would probably be the Great Qin dynasty. Of course, this was purely after the fact. As far as Lin Feng knew, the Great Qin dynasty had an indifferent attitude when it came to destroying the Buddhist sections. To them, the Tempest Temple and the Great Zhou dynasty perished together, and both sides suffered heavy losses. This was the most ideal result. However, Liang Pan and Zhu Hongwu were more skilled, and the Great Zhou dynasty's strength did not decline, but increased, completely leaving the Great Qin dynasty behind. Dao Master Changlu suddenly came to the Great Zhou dynasty on a diplomatic mission. Lin Feng asked. Dao Master Changlu nodded, "That's right." Lin Feng looked as if nothing had happened, but he secretly paid attention. "A storm is coming." According to Lin Feng's understanding of Dao Master Changlu, although this big shot was born of the royal family of the Great Qin dynasty and had reached the essence soul stage, he usually loved to live freely in the world and enjoy life. Generally speaking, he did not care about anything. The Great Qin dynasty itself would not easily disturb this easygoing primordial soul realm powerhouse. Only when the Great Qin dynasty was in trouble would they ask this old man to take action, and Dao Master Changlu did not hesitate every time. Previously, when he took on the responsibility of hosting the Desolate Sea Assembly, Lin Feng had already paid attention to him. Now that he had even accepted a diplomatic mission to the Great Zhou dynasty, it meant that the Great Qin dynasty had used every bit of its power. Under Dao Master Chang Li's guidance, Lin Feng followed him to a place thousands of miles away, where there was a line of honor. This time, the diplomatic mission of the Great Qin dynasty was led by Dao Master Changlu, and there were also some ministers of the Great Qin dynasty. Other than that, there was also an important person, the princess of the Great Qin dynasty, Shi Xingyun, who had appeared at the Desolate Sea Assembly. Shi Xingyun was still dressed in yellow, and did not wear a formal dress. After seeing Lin Feng, she bowed to him. "Junior Shi Xingyun greets you, senior." Lin Feng looked at Shi Xingyun curiously. As a powerful dynasty ruled by cultivators, the royal family itself was a powerful cultivator family. The status of the female members of the royal family depended on their cultivation, and it could be much higher than that of a secular dynasty. However, it was rare to see someone like Shi Xingyun, who could represent the country as an envoy. Don't tell me they're going to marry her to the Great Zhou dynasty. Lin Feng had a wicked guess in his heart. The marriage of the princess of the Great Qin dynasty would definitely be a big deal. Although he had not received any news about it, it was possible that they were going to go on a blind date first. However, Lin Feng would definitely not reveal his true thoughts. He laughed and chatted happily with Shi Xingyun and Dao Master Changlu. Shi Xingyun and Dao Master Changlu did not ask why Lin Feng was here. It was no secret that Zhu Yi was returning to the Great Zhou dynasty for the examination. What Shi Xingyun and Dao Master Changlu were more concerned about was that Lin Feng did not go to the Great Zhou dynasty to support his disciple this time. Although it was only one of Lin Feng's doppelgangers here, it could be vaguely seen from his tone and attitude that Lin Feng had no intention of going to Tianjin City personally. For the Great Qin dynasty, this was a very subtle situation. It showed that Lin Feng was returning the goodwill that Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou had sent Mei Wulang to present a gift to Xianmen Tianzong's first opening ceremony outside the Shazhou city. Therefore, when Zhu Yi returned to Tianjin City this time, Lin Feng did not personally go to the Celeritas sword sect like he did when Xiao Yan went to the cloud-traversing peak. This was a form of respect, and at the same time, it showed his trust in the Great Zhou dynasty. He believed that they would at least give Zhu Yi a fair environment. This was not good news for the great Qin dynasty. However, from another point of view, Lin Feng had never personally visited Emperor Liang Pan of Zhou. It was obvious that there was still a certain distance between them. Everyone was still probing each other, and their relationship was not close. After a short conversation with Shi Xingyun and Dao Master Chang'e, Lin Feng said that he would be staying at the Tempest Temple ruins for a while longer, and so he took his leave. Before leaving, Lin Feng took another look at Shi Xingyun and said, "Is it my imagination? Why do I feel that there's something strange about this woman? Is it not just that her soul has merged with the soul of the primordial heavenly dragon?" After Lin Feng left the Great Qin diplomatic corps, a middle-aged man in heavy armor came to Dao Master Chang'e and Shi Xingyun and said in a deep voice, "Dao Master, Princess, it seems that the Master of Xianmen will not appear in Tianjing City." This middle-aged man had a majestic aura, and his qi and blood were incomparably vigorous. He was like a human-shaped demon dragon, and the vibrating power of his body seemed to be able to break through the void. He was a powerful martial artist who stood at the peak of the Yuanying stage, and specialized in physical martial arts. Dao Master Chang'e glanced at him. Although he still had a friendly smile on his face, his eyes had become stern. He shook his head and said, "Don't have any thoughts about Zhu Yi. The master of Xianmen is not stupid. Moreover, it's the capital of the great Zhou dynasty." Shi Xingyun said calmly, "Not only can we not touch Zhu Yi, but we also have to be vigilant in case someone touches him and puts the blame on the great Qin dynasty." After a moment of silence, the middle-aged man in heavy armor nodded and said, "I understand." Lin Feng left the Great Qin diplomatic corps and returned to the vicinity of the Tempest Temple ruins. Suddenly, he had a thought, this magical aura is somewhat familiar. Tai Shu's doppelganger had already advanced to the Yuanying stage. With one step, he traversed through space and arrived at his destination. Just now, he had sensed that there were people fighting, and one of the magical waves felt very familiar to him. When Lin Feng arrived, he saw that it was indeed another familiar person, Dao Jiqiang. He should have come with the Qin diplomatic corps. Why is he here alone? There were two people fighting in front of him. One of them looked like a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance, but he had a dignified aura, especially his eyes, which were calm and composed. Even though he was at a disadvantage, Dao Jiqiang was still able to deal with his opponent calmly. However, his opponent was too strong. With a golden elixir period cultivation, it was too easy for him to fight against Dao Jiqiang, who was only in the foundation establishment stage. After all, only a handful of people could fight against and even defeat a golden elixir period cultivator with a foundation establishment stage cultivation. Dao Jiqiang could only rely on some talismans and magic tools to barely hold on, but he was already on the verge of defeat. Lin Feng was not in a hurry to make a move, because he sensed that among the people present, other than Dao Jiqiang and his opponent, there were two other people. Both of them were in the golden elixir period cultivation, one strong and one weak. They were hiding in the dark, silently watching this seemingly insignificant and uninteresting battle. What made Lin Feng feel interesting is that these two Aurus core stage cultivators that did not show themselves, even though they did not reveal their own mana or cultivation level, but their Dao techniques faintly seemed to be the legacy of the Celestial Pool sect. This is interesting, Lin Feng smiled and thought of the Tianqi sect's rule of severing secular ties. Chapter 400. In the field, Dao Jiqiang was fighting with a golden elixir period cultivator. Through their conversation, it seemed to be an ordinary killing and robbing. However, the two cultivators from the Heavenly Pool sect who were hiding in the dark changed the atmosphere. What made Lin Feng even more interested was that these two Heavenly Pool sect cultivators didn't seem to be from the same group. The golden elixir period cultivator from Heavenly Pool sect with the lower cultivation level was completely focused on Dao Jiqiang and Dao Jiqiang. He didn't notice the existence of his fellow sect member at all. As for the Heavenly Pool sect cultivator with the higher cultivation level, his attention was focused on both sides at the same time. It was obvious that the mantis was stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind it. The waves of magic power feel somewhat familiar. Lin Feng thought for a moment and suddenly felt that the aura of the Heavenly Pool sect cultivator with the higher cultivation level was somewhat familiar. After carefully sensing it, Lin Feng showed a smile of realization. Interesting. The Golden Elixir period cultivator from Heavenly Pool sect with the higher cultivation level was Song Qingyuan, who had also participated in the Desolate Sea Assembly. He was one of the best among the young disciples of Heavenly Pool sect. His cultivation level was already at the peak of the Golden Elixir period. His combat ability was also very strong. He had cultivated the ice and fire invisible sword Qi that was taught by the sect leader of Heavenly Pool sect, Chao Wei. He could even fight against the ancestors of the Yuanying period. With his cultivation level, he could have broken through to the Yuanying period and tried to go through the lightning tribulation. However, Song Qingyuan's innate body was special. His primordial yang was overflowing with true yin, and he had a body of yin and yang that coexisted with each other. It was true that he could get twice the results with half the effort when he cultivated the Tao of Heavenly Pool sect. His talent was amazing. However, because he didn't have a perfect balance of yin and yang, he might have an imbalance of yin and yang when he went through the lightning tribulation. Because of this, Song Qingyuan didn't go through the lightning tribulation. His cultivation level was stuck at the late stage of the Golden Elixir period. The most appropriate and effective way to solve his problem was to become Dao companions with Dao Yuding and cultivate together. Dao Yuding's body type was the exact opposite of his. Her innate primordial yin was overflowing with innate yang. Although they were both yin and yang physiques, it was not an absolutely perfect balance. The two of them could perfectly complement each other and achieve a complete balance of yin and yang, a balance that was even more perfect than that between a man and a woman. But judging from this person's past actions and words, Lin Feng did not think that this person would be filial to his father-in-law. Then the reason why he appeared here was quite worth pondering. Soon, Song Qingyuan made his move. He quietly moved behind his fellow disciple. It was a middle-aged cultivator with an early-stage golden elixir cultivation. He only noticed Song Qingyuan's existence when he was already beside him. The middle-aged cultivator was quite surprised. He used his magic power to transmit his voice to Song Qingyuan. Why did Qingyuan come here? Song Qingyuan smiled warmly and said politely, Martial Uncle Zhang, this Dao Jiqiang cannot die yet. The middle-aged cultivator surnamed Zhang was surprised. Why? Although his seniority was higher than Song Qingyuan's, his cultivation and potential were far from Song Qingyuan's. He had formed his core for hundreds of years, but he was still stuck in the early-stage golden elixir cultivation. He did not dare to go through the yin fire tribulation. Therefore, the middle-aged cultivator did not dare to be arrogant in front of Song Qingyuan. In fact, he also had a lot of doubts in his heart. The task assigned by the sect was to kill Dao Jiqiang, but the content of the task was very strange. It provided Dao Jiqiang's whereabouts, but the middle-aged cultivator could not kill him personally. He could not expose his identity as a disciple of the Heavenly Lake sect. The middle-aged cultivator knew about Dao Jiqiang. He knew that although this person's cultivation was low, he worked in the residence of Great Qin's minister Wu Qingru. Therefore, he thought that the sect did not want to make too many enemies. Therefore, he acted according to the sect's order. He bribed a loose cultivator and put on a show of killing Dao Jiqiang. However, Song Qingyuan's sudden appearance surprised the middle-aged cultivator surnamed Zhang. This is a task assigned by the sect. There can't be any mistake. Of course I know this is a task assigned by the sect. That's why I rushed here. Song Qingyuan smiled and said, Martial Uncle Zhang, you didn't find the wrong person. That foundation establishment cultivator is the Dao Jiqiang you were looking for. However, I just said that this Dao Jiqiang cannot die yet. Hearing this, the middle-aged cultivator surnamed Zhang gradually came back to his senses. His expression couldn't help but change. Qingyuan, it's against the rules. I know. Song Qingyuan smiled and nodded. That's why I need Martial Uncle Zhang to make an exception. Martial Uncle, you don't need to worry about being punished when you return. Just push all the blame to me. I will bear all the consequences. The middle-aged cultivator hesitated and thought to himself, you are the sect master's personal disciple. When the time comes, the sect master will support you. You will most likely be fine. If there is a problem, you can shoulder it. I don't need to go against you. Thinking of this, he nodded, then I'll leave this place to you, Qingyuan. You can do whatever you want. After saying this, the middle-aged cultivator turned to leave. However, before he had walked a few steps, his body suddenly stiffened. He looked back in shock and saw a vortex of ice and raging fire appear in front of him and rush towards him. Song Qingyuan, you. Before he could finish his sentence, his voice suddenly stopped. The middle-aged cultivator had been killed by Song Qingyuan's ice and fire spiritual conception technique. This technique could even seriously injure the northern militant martial cultivator, Do Kun, who was also at the peak of the Golden Elixir period, let alone an early Golden Elixir period martial cultivator. After killing the middle-aged cultivator, Song Qingyuan's expression didn't change at all. He smiled and said, Martial uncle, I carefully thought about it. It's better for you to bear all the consequences. However, you still don't need to worry about being punished when you return. As he killed the middle-aged cultivator, he didn't hide the fluctuation of his magic power at all. On the other side, Dao Jiqiang naturally felt it as well. Whether it was the hired independent cultivator of the Golden Elixir period or Dao Jiqiang, they all looked at Song Qingyuan, who was slowly walking out, in shock and uncertainty. Song Qingyuan was still smiling. Very soon, he killed the independent cultivator of the Golden Elixir period. Only he and Dao Jiqiang were left at the scene. Dao Jiqiang looked at Song Qingyuan calmly, cupped his fists, and said, Thank you, perfected cultivator Song, for helping me. In the Tianyuan Great World, cultivators of the Golden Elixir period could be called perfected cultivators. Even if they didn't come from a Dao sect, they could sometimes be called perfected cultivators as a form of respect. Song Qingyuan smiled. You know me? Dao Jiqiang nodded. During the Desolate Sea Assembly, I witnessed perfected cultivator Song's glory. The elegance of being defeated by a 10-year-old kid? Song Qingyuan asked faintly. Dao Jiqiang's heart tightened. He said, Perfected cultivator Song, you must be joking. You defeated Du Kun of the Beirong Royal Court and Gu Lei of the Purple Cloud Path. Everyone who participated in the assembly saw your glory. Song Qingyuan smiled noncommittally and looked at Dao Jiqiang with an indecipherable gaze. Everyone saw your daughter's glory. Dao Jiqiang felt his heart skip a beat. When the cultivator of the Tianqi sect appeared, he knew that his identity might have been exposed. However, he forcefully controlled his emotions and looked confused. Perfected cultivator Song, are you talking about my daughter? But I'm all alone. I don't even have a wife, so how can I have children? Song Qingyuan chuckled. You don't remember Yuding, but Yuding remembers you. Hearing this, Dao Jiqiang felt like he was struck by lightning. The Tianqi sect's rule of severing secular ties would be carried out behind the backs of children when they were young. However, the executioner would definitely be a member of the Tianqi sect. Naturally, they would think that before they entered the sect, they had experienced the same cruel fate. From a certain point of view, this sect rule affected the unity of the sect, so the Tianqi sect had many auxiliary methods. Those who had experienced severing secular ties would receive special psychological counseling. This counseling process would run through their cultivation path. After many years of subtle psychological indoctrination, most people would be indifferent even if they knew that their parents and family members might die in the hands of the sect. They would even feel that it was natural and would thank the sect for cutting off their fetters and burdens, giving them a new life and destiny. Most of the descendants of the Tianqi sect had cold and indifferent personalities, which had a lot to do with this kind of education. In the end, it was like a kind of sect culture that was integrated into the entire Tianqi sect. Under the huge inertia, no one would think of questioning it. When they were criticized by outsiders, the members of the Tianqi sect didn't care at all. They would even scoff at the criticism of others. However, there were always exceptions. When there were a few stubborn people or aliens, the Tianqi sect would deal with them by breaking their souls and memories. Song Qingyuan smiled slightly and said, Yuding has always been thinking about you, although she doesn't know that you are still alive. How deep their feelings are. Song Qingyuan raised his head and said with a sigh, even though her soul and memories had been broken once, she still tried hard to remember her father in the end, but she had to pretend that she didn't remember anything, so that her soul and memories would not be broken again. Dao Jiqiang suddenly clenched his fists, his nails were completely embedded in his flesh, and he tightly pursed his lips without saying a word. Song Qingyuan looked at Dao Jiqiang and smiled, how happy do you think she will be if I take you to see her? Although his smile was warm and genial, there was a kind of extremely dangerous and cruel light flashing in his eyes, like a cat playing with a mouse, which made people shudder. Say, if I take you to see Chao Wei, will he also be very happy? A voice suddenly sounded in the space, and then the sky full of purple chi surged, covering both Song Qingyuan and Dao Jiqiang. Song Qingyuan's expression changed slightly, and then he saw Lin Feng slowly walking out of the void, looking at the two of them calmly. During the Battle of Kunlun Mountain, it was no longer a secret that Lin Feng had a doppelganger formed by the Shura iron tree. Although it was the first time they met, Song Qingyuan's heart suddenly sank when he heard Lin Feng's tone and looked at the sky full of purple chi. He forced himself to cheer up and asked with a smile, Are you the master of the celestial sect? Junior Song Qingyuan greets you, senior. Greetings, senior. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. If it was an ordinary yuanying stage, Song Qingyuan would still fight, but seeing that it was Lin Feng, even if it was just a doppelganger, he gave up the idea of fighting back. Lin Feng said lightly, It's fate that we met. Come to my place and have a seat. Chapter 401. Song Qingyuan looked at Lin Feng. After a while, he sighed and said with a smile, Junior dares not disobey senior's order. He was very obedient and calmly accepted Lin Feng's arrangement. Thinking that he was a junior and the other party was a senior, so the senior would be magnanimous and tolerant of the junior and that the junior could do whatever he wanted was pure foolishness. If he wanted to be magnanimous, he would be magnanimous and laugh it off. If he wanted to deal with you, he would deal with you without holding back. This was the privilege of a superior. Lin Feng kept him in the small world and then looked at Dao Jiqiang, who was stunned and silent. This middle-aged man still hadn't come back to his senses. Dao Jiqiang greets sect leader Lin. After a while, Dao Jiqiang bowed to Lin Feng and said, Thank you for saving me, sect leader Lin. Although his cultivation level wasn't high, he was calm and meticulous. He could naturally see that Song Qingyuan actually didn't have good intentions just now. If he fell into Song Qingyuan's hands, he might really be able to see his daughter, Dao Yuding, but the result might not be a good thing for the father and daughter. Lin Feng asked, What do you plan to do next? At this moment, Dao Jiqiang had completely calmed down. Song Qingyuan's words had a huge impact on him. At this moment, he missed his daughter even more. However, he regained his composure and said after a while of silence, Junior wants to go to a place to verify something. Lin Feng looked at him and asked, Where? Dao Jiqiang told him a place. It was on a mountain in the northeast of the Great Thunderclap Temple ruins. Lin Feng directly brought him there through the void. There was a golden elixir period cultivator on the mountain, and he seemed to be waiting for someone. Dao Jiqiang stood on the clouds with Lin Feng. After carefully looking at the golden elixir period cultivator, Dao Jiqiang became completely silent and revealed a bitter smile. Lin Feng asked, Is he waiting for you? Dao Jiqiang laughed bitterly. That's right. I left the main group of envoys and rushed here to see him and deliver something to him. But now, it seems that this path of delivering a letter is the Yellow Springs Road that the Prime Minister prepared for me. I know that the Prime Minister is connected to the Skypool sect, but it seems that the Prime Minister is also aware of my background. Dao Jiqiang sighed, I was born in a small cultivation sect at the northern border of the Great Zhou dynasty. My junior sister and I were very close. When both of us built our foundation and stabilized our foundation, we became husband and wife. After marriage, my wife and I loved each other very much. We even had a daughter, and our family of 3 enjoyed the happiness of a family. Dao Jiqiang's eyes were filled with nostalgia. At that time, I even thought that the so-called immortal cultivation was actually for the sake of having that kind of happiness for a longer time. My daughter, when she was still a minor, displayed shocking talent in cultivation. Dao Jiqiang's expression gradually turned ugly. At first, I was overjoyed. I thought that it was a gift from the heavens, but who knew that it was the beginning of a nightmare? Dao Jiqiang's daughter was Dao Yuding. She had shocking talent at a young age. In the end, when she was discovered by the Skypool sect, she was forcefully taken in as a disciple. Faced with the Skypool sect's rule of severing ties with the secular world, Dao Jiqiang's family was in great trouble. His daughter was kidnapped and his wife died tragically in the hands of the Skypool sect. The Skypool sect was so powerful that not only Dao Jiqiang, but even Dao Jiqiang's sect was like an ant in front of the Skypool sect. Dao Jiqiang was lucky to escape with his life. If it was purely for revenge, he might not have the courage to fight against such a huge sect. But his daughter was still there. As a father, even if the road ahead was hopeless, Dao Jiqiang still had to fight. Therefore, he kept searching for a great force that could help him fulfill his long-cherished wish. First, he joined the great Zhou dynasty's Xinwu army. After the battle in the Great Swamp, he left the Xinwu army and came to the Great Qin dynasty. In the end, he became the guest of the Great Qin dynasty's minister Wu Qingru. However, before he could see the light of hope, he fell into the abyss of despair again. Lin Feng looked at Dao Jiqiang silently and suddenly smiled. I'm Xianmen Tianzong, and I'm still lacking a competent outer sect steward. Are you willing to join me? Hearing this, Dao Jiqiang was instantly stunned, blankly staring at Lin Feng, speechless. After a while, he realized that this was very rude and quickly said, since Senior is willing to take me in, I'm naturally willing, but, Dao Jiqiang was very nervous. He carefully looked at Lin Feng and whispered, Senior, aren't you worried that I'm Wu Qingru's spy? He couldn't help but be on tenterhooks. Someone like him simply had the face of a spy. His biggest weakness was that his daughter was still in someone else's hands. Even if he wasn't a spy now, if Wu Qingru or Chao Wei used Dao Yuding to threaten him in the future to harm Xianmen Tianzong, Dao Jiqiang would have to admit that he wouldn't be able to stop them. Moreover, he first joined the Great Zhou dynasty and then left the Xinwu army. Then, he accepted Wu Qingru as his master. Now, he changed sides again. Regardless of the reason, he was a slave with 3 surnames. If he was Lin Feng, he would also find it hard to trust such a person. Lin Feng faintly glanced at him, calmly saying, whether or not you're someone else's spy, I don't mind. As long as you do your best when you're my steward. What I want to use is your ability, not your loyalty. He looked at Dao Jiqiang and suddenly smiled, in fact, I kind of hope that you're Wu Qingru's or Chao Wei's spy. Dao Jiqiang was tongue-tied and couldn't say anything. A chill ran down his spine. In the past, I always felt that Wu Qingru was the most terrifying person I've seen in my life, but I'm afraid this master of the Celestial Gate is even more terrifying. After a long time, he calmed down and kowtowed to Lin Feng. He took a deep breath and said, this junior is willing to serve senior. I only hope that Senior will take pity on me one day and let me reunite with Yuding so that we won't be separated. Lin Feng said lightly, those who trust me, I will never let them down. From today onwards, you will be the steward of Xianmen Tianzong. You will be in charge of all the miscellaneous matters on Jade Capital Mountain. If you do well, I will reward you. As he finished speaking, Lin Feng flicked his finger and a purple aura shot out, sending Dao Jiqiang up Jade Capital Mountain. After sending off Dao Jiqiang, Lin Feng's communication crystal lit up. After connecting the call, Shi Tianhao's voice could be heard, Master, second brother has passed the imperial examinations. In fact, he came in first, top scorer. Lin Feng asked, I'm more concerned about his work for this examination. Is it the follow-up to his unfinished piece of work? Shi Tianhao laughed, no. Hearing this, not only did Lin Feng not feel regretful, he even laughed happily. That's good. He can release and retract at the same time. His understanding of Dao techniques is getting better and better. The little Shi Tianhao said, I will let second brother bring us around the city. We will return to the mountain in 2 days. Lin Feng nodded his head. Before, he had already reached an agreement with Zhu Yi. After this exam ends in spring, Zhu Yi will not stay in Tianjing City and will return to Jade Capital Mountain to continue training. Only until the autumn exam half a year later will he once again head to Tianjing City to take the exam. After ending the communication with the little one, Lin Feng put his hands behind his back. He was pleased. It seems that every disciple is starting to walk on the right path. Zhu Yi had walked his own path, and so had Wang Lin. Wang Lin returned to his hometown this time to reunite with his parents and family. There is naturally no need to mention a glorious return to his hometown. His hometown is located in the mountainous area at the edge of the Great Qin dynasty's southern border. Like Xiao Yan's family in Wuzhou City, Wang Lin's family also received preferential treatment and protection from the Great Qin dynasty's official forces. After finding out that all of this originated from that Wang Lin who was like a joke back then, the contrast in the hearts of the Wang family was truly earth-shattering. After Wang Lin returned home, he faced the change in the attitude of everyone in his family. Looking at the smiling faces hiding guilt and fear under their fawning, he did not feel his anger was vented, nor did he feel it was funny. He only calmly and indifferently interacted with them. Only when facing his parents did Wang Lin feel heartfelt joy. He stayed in his hometown and accompanied his parents day and night, living the life of an ordinary person. Everything seemed to have returned to before he left home. On one hand, Wang Lin's actions were to accompany his parents. On the other hand, it was also a kind of training for his own path. Lin Feng had once communicated with him and knew that Wang Lin was currently unifying this concept of being as calm as water and returning to one's true nature with the Yellow Springs Death Realm that walked towards the other extreme, forming a complete concept of two extremes. It was not completely replacing the Yellow Springs Death Realm with the plane returning to one's true nature, but pushing both sides to the extreme and then merging them. Compared to when he was building Mortal Forest Residence, his understanding of the Tao of heaven and earth had increased by another level. He had truly perfected his heavenly extreme Tao Sutra. After Lin Feng found out, he first confirmed that Wang Lin's thinking was correct and also felt happy for him. Therefore, Wang Lin took a family leave this time, taking over half a year in one go. Up until now, he was still resting in his small mountain village in his hometown. Other than Wang Lin and Zhu Yi, although Xiao Yan accidentally played himself until he was crippled, he clearly had a clear path for his future. After the little guy, Shi Tianhao, killed the mid-stage Yuanying patriarch, Yu Shiling, his cultivation and spirit reached new heights. Yu Hongyan and Yang Qing were also progressing steadily. Basically, there was nothing that Lin Feng was dissatisfied with, except for one thing. This thing was that Luo Qinggu had returned to the ancient Yuan Tian realm for half a year, but there was no movement at all during this long time. The dermic power that Lin Feng left in her heavenly dark soul pearl could feel that the problem of her heavenly dark soul pearl had not improved. At this moment, she was only relying on the petals of Lin Feng's divine flower of two extremes to keep it from shattering. However, as long as she cultivated her qi, there would immediately be a problem. As a result, in the past half a year, the little girl had completely stopped cultivating and did not move at all. Could it be that I was wrong? Lin Feng was a little puzzled. The precious constitution of the little girl's heavenly dark soul pearl has been destroyed, but her family still dotes on her like a treasure and treats her the same. If that's the case, it's actually a good result. Lin Feng frowned slightly. But why do I feel that the situation has changed beyond my expectations? Chapter 402. Back then, Lin Feng had left a stream of transcendence energy in Luo Qingwu's heavenly dark soul pearl. As long as Luo Qinggu was willing, she could contact Lin Feng through this stream of transcendence energy at any time. Therefore, before they parted, Lin Feng had told the little girl that if she was unhappy at home, she could come to Yujing Mountain to play. However, who knew that the little girl had gone back for half a year, and there had been no news from her at all. Lin Feng could sense that the transcendence energy he had left in the heavenly dark soul pearl had not met with any accident. It had not been erased or controlled by anyone. In other words, not contacting Lin Feng was the little girl's own intention. This made Lin Feng a little curious. However, he was only curious. If the little girl continued to live a carefree life, there was nothing wrong with it. Right now Lin Feng's mentality has already gradually changed. Towards talented people, he still wants to take them in, but it's not that he has to get them. As he pondered, Lin Feng suddenly felt the malicious intent that had been spying on him when the Iron Tree clone was going through the Thunder Tribulation. Cruel, vicious, cunning. The other party's transcendence energy clearly revealed these negative emotions. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly and turned to look. He saw the void tremble, and a figure slowly walked out from the crack in space. This person's transcendence energy was extremely strong. Facing him, Lin Feng vaguely felt as if he was facing the endless sea and sky. As expected, his cultivation level is later stage Yuanying. Lin Feng smiled slightly. If this person reaches the primordial soul realm, his strength will be quite extraordinary. The other party was wrapped in a faint layer of fog, making it difficult to see his exact appearance. However, it naturally could not hide Lin Feng's vision. After carefully sizing up the other party, Lin Feng was slightly surprised. This person was born with a strange appearance. His appearance was old, his waist was hunched, and his facial features were very strange. He had the face of a bird and the head of a fish. He didn't look like a human, but a little like a demon that had transformed into a human. However, it wasn't complete enough, leaving behind many of the characteristics of a beast. However, when Lin Feng observed this person's magic power, it was clearly the magic power fluctuations of a human cultivator and not the Yao power of the Yao race. Lin Feng sized up the bird-faced, fish-headed monster with great interest. Could it be that it's the same as my Iron Tree clone, having refined some kind of monster as a clone? His gaze made the eccentric very unhappy. He sneered, "You actually managed to refine a sorrow Iron Tree as your avatar? How lucky! However, I, your ancestor, have benefited from it. Hand over your avatar to me." This person's voice was also extremely strange. It was sharp and ear-piercing like the howling winds in the sky, but also deep and surging like the waves of the sea. After saying one sentence, the strange person directly stretched out his hand and grabbed towards Lin Feng's Iron Tree clone. His palm instantly turned into a giant hand that covered the sky. When Lin Feng saw this, he didn't panic. Instead, his eyes lit up. Although the other party's grab seemed simple, it actually contained many kinds of power concepts. Under the cover of the palm, it vaguely produced a kind of heaven and earth within the palm. It contained the profound mysteries of the power of space. The space under the palm was gathering towards the center of his palm. Even if the opponent tried to dodge in other directions, it would be useless. They wouldn't be able to escape from this eccentric's palm. Other than that, there seemed to be a whirlpool in the center of the palm that kept spinning, forming a huge suction force. When the 5 fingers spread out, countless astral winds swept up, covering the field and tearing it apart. Under this eccentric's grab, opponents below the late Yuanying realm couldn't escape. It would be difficult for them to even resist. They could only obediently wait for death. But this didn't include Lin Feng. He stood leisurely in place, not dodging or avoiding, only calmly looking at the eccentric. The eccentric was startled. He sensed danger, but it was too late. Slowly, a blazing sun rose from the bottom of his palm. Although it seemed slow, it was filled with an unstoppable strength. Lin Feng's great sun god fist was like the rising sun, striking the eccentric's palm. The violent strength directly shattered the eccentric's claw. The eccentric cried out and quickly withdrew his hand. The giant claw that covered the sky disappeared. The eccentric looked down at his palm and saw that it was charred black. What violent physical strength! And that golden flame is one of the 7 great true flames, the solar true fire? The eccentric's eyes suddenly blazed. He looked up at Lin Feng, but he had already become much more cautious. Lin Feng calmly stared back at him. The monster looked at Lin Feng's calm and collected appearance, and his ferocious aura retracted quite a bit. When the Iron Tree doppelganger went through the thunder tribulation, he saw that it was only a doppelganger of Lin Feng. He didn't know where the real body was. But the eccentric had always been greedy and bold. The doppelganger refined by the Shura Iron Tree was very attractive to him, so he decided to take the risk without hesitation. However, he had suffered a great loss at the hands of Dao Master Changle of the Great Qin dynasty. So when he sensed Dao Master Changle coming, he had no choice but to retreat. After a while, he found that Lin Feng's Iron Tree doppelganger was alone. After confirming that Dao Master Changle was not nearby, the eccentric attacked. He originally thought that Lin Feng's Iron Tree doppelganger had just gone through the thunder tribulation and should be very weak. Even if it was not weak, it should be easy to capture a mere early Yuanian cultivator. He didn't expect that the power of the Iron Tree doppelganger was far beyond his imagination. Without using the Heaven and Earth avatar, he actually suffered a little from the Iron Tree doppelganger. Although the eccentric was confident that as long as he used the Heaven and Earth avatar, he could still capture Lin Feng's doppelganger. But he couldn't end the battle in 2 or 3 moves. If Lin Feng's real body was strong and suddenly came at this time, he would inevitably suffer a greater loss. Thinking up to here, the weirdo instantly retracted all of his malice. After staring at Lin Feng for a while, he suddenly opened his mouth and said, "For what happened just now, I apologize to you." Lin Feng looked at him silently and didn't speak. This strange man obviously knew that what he had just done was not something that could be brushed aside with just a few words. He could naturally just turn around and leave, but after seeing Lin Feng's true fire of the sun, he had a new idea. The eccentric said, "I know the location of a secret treasure. I am willing to share it with you as an apology. I am Ancestral Master Kuan-Yu. May I know how I should address you?" Lin Feng sized him up and didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "You can't take out the secret treasure by yourself, right?" Ancestral Master Kuan-Yu answered calmly, "That's right. But without me, no one else can take out the secret treasure by themselves. I know the way to open the secret treasure, but there are restrictions protecting the outside of the secret treasure. I can't break through it by myself. If I have your help, I can succeed immediately." Ancestral Master Kuan-Yu grinned and said, "Let's work together. After we take out the secret treasure, we will share it equally. How about that? In this world, I am the only one who knows the exact location of the secret treasure." Lin Feng asked silently, "What secret treasure?" Ancestral Master Kuan-Yu chuckled. "The Kuan-Peng secret treasure. A Kuan-Peng great sage who achieved the 3rd level of the immortal demon's soul died in the divine land. The Kuan-Peng was one of the primordial demons. It was on the same level as the Tao Tai, Cheong Qi, primordial sky dragon, phoenix and other races. It had 2 forms, Kuan and Peng. It was a Kuan in the water and a Peng when it came out of the water. It was the largest demon race in the great heaven primordial world. Its power was proportional to its size and it was one of the most powerful demon races. There was also a Kuan-Peng great sage in Tianhuang mainland, but it was said that he only had the 1st level of the immortal demon soul, so he wasn't included in the list of the 10 sages of the demon race. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The Kuan-Peng secret treasure. He recalled the time when he had just reached Foundation Establishment and went to the Kunlun mountain range to look for Yujing Mountain. That was the first time Lin Feng had met Yang Qing and captured the Fire Crow young master and a few Wind God sect disciples. One of the Wind God sect disciples, named Gao Fan, tried to subdue the Great Yin True Water with an evil technique, but ended up being killed by the Great Yin True Water. From that person, Lin Feng learned about the Kunpeng's secret treasure for the first time. The Kunpeng's secret treasure was hidden in the Arctic Ice Sea and was sealed by the 1,000-year mystic ice all year round. Although Gao Fan knew the location and had obtained the Kunpeng scale that could open the secret treasure, he couldn't break the mystic ice. Not to mention Gao Fan, even a primordial divinity cultivator would be powerless against the mysterious ice of the North Sea. It was an extreme ice that had been frozen for more than 10,000 years. The world was extremely cold, and even space and time were completely sealed. It was impossible to pass through the void. Fortunately, there was an alternation of yin and yang in the world. Every once in a while, the mystic ice would be eroded by the yang qi and become weaker. Only when the yang qi of the North Sea melted and the yin qi regained the upper hand, would the mystic ice become stronger again. After the weakened mystic ice, powerful cultivators who could control the 7 true fires could try to break the mystic ice by force. The great Yin True Water, which was known as the commander of all water and could control all ice water in the world, could also break the mystic ice. Therefore, poor Gao Fan didn't know that even if he really obtained the great Yin True Water, he couldn't break the mystic ice as a foundation establishment cultivator. Ancestral Master Kun Yu was also facing the same problem. Therefore, after seeing Lin Feng's true fire of the sun, he wanted to invite Lin Feng to join forces. When Lin Feng got the news from Gao Fan, the North Sea was in a period of intense yin qi and the mystic ice was even stronger. Moreover, his cultivation level was still low at that time, so he temporarily forgot about this matter. After hearing Ancestral Master Kun Yu's suggestion, Lin Feng asked, "Is the yang qi in the North Sea the upper hand now?" Ancestral Master Kun Yu's heart sank when he heard this. He immediately knew that Lin Feng knew something about the Kunpeng's secret treasure. At this moment, the strange old man couldn't help but feel like he was asking a tiger for its skin. He braced himself and said, "Yes, before this year's summer solstice, the yang qi will suppress the yin qi. However, after this year's summer solstice, the yang qi will start to fade and the yin qi will increase. For a long time in the future, the yin qi will have the upper hand." Lin Feng opened his palm. "With this thing in hand, I don't think I need to cooperate with you." It was a fish scale. It looked like it was only the size of a fingernail, but it contained layers of space power that suppressed its size. Its real size was probably about 1 square kilometer. Ancestral Master Kun Yu glanced at it and sneered. "Kunpeng's scale. I'm not afraid to tell you that this thing can indeed locate the Kunpeng's secret treasure, but it can only bring you to the entrance. If you want to go deeper into the secret treasure, this thing is not enough." Chapter 403. Lin Feng looked at Ancestral Master Kun Yu calmly. "Oh. You mean you have a way to enter the Kunpeng treasure?" Ancestral Master Kun Yu smiled proudly. "That's right. If you want to enter the Kunpeng treasure, you must have the pure Kunpeng bloodline. I am such a person." Lin Feng sized up his bird face and fish head appearance, coming to a realization, so this person refined the bloodline of the great demon Kunpeng into his body, that's why he has this appearance. Ancestral Master Kun Yu was no longer a pure human. He was half human and half demon. He was originally a human, but he had refined the Kunpeng's bloodline into his body. His bloodline had fused with it, and his outer appearance had some characteristics of a Kunpeng. The Dharma spell he cast just now, which manifested into a giant hand that blotted out the sky, had also incorporated the innate divine ability of the Kunpeng demon clan. His palm was like the abyss of the sea, and when he spread his fingers, it was like a rock spreading its wings. Ancestral Master Kun Yu was unhappy that Lin Feng was looking at him up and down. He snorted. "Do you understand now? If you want to enter the Kunpeng treasure, you must cooperate with me." Hearing that, Lin Feng smiled leisurely. "My motto has always been to simplify complicated matters as much as possible. Don't make simple matters more complicated than they should be." Ancestral Master Kun Yu was stunned. "What do you mean?" Lin Feng said lightly, I have a way to break through the mystic ice of the North Sea. I have a way to determine the exact location of the Kuan Peng's treasure. The only thing I lack is the Kuan Peng bloodline. Since that's the case, as long as I capture you, then wouldn't all the conditions be met? It's very simple. Why do you have to make it so complicated? Ancestral Master Kuan Yu was so angry that he laughed. You don't know what's good for you. I was willing to give you a share because I thought highly of you. Since you don't want it, I will let you know what it means to refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. While speaking, he bluntly put his palms together and then suddenly separated again, a violent gust of wind chopping towards Lin Feng. Wherever the astral wind passed, a huge crack would be torn open in the space, causing the space to distort. Lin Feng faintly smiled, extending his right hand horizontally forward. Black light flashed on his palm. Within the light, there seemed to be the image of a towering tree with iron trunks and twisted branches swaying, revealing an indestructible, immortal and powerful concept of strength. When the astral wind struck the silhouette of the iron tree, it suddenly twisted in the air before exploding into thousands upon thousands of sharp wind blades that shot in all directions. These fine wind blades fell among the mountains, leaving cracks on the mountain peaks. There were even small peaks that were split open. Just the ripples that spread out were already so powerful. The destructive power of a complete astral wind was evident. However, the silhouette of the iron tree in Lin Feng's right hand only shook violently, like a stone thrown into the water. The ripples kept on shaking, but in the end, everything returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. Ancestral Master Kuan Yu's expression darkened, but the greed in his eyes burned brighter. The most powerful thing about the Shura iron tree was its impenetrable defense. It was known as the king of the demon race's defense. In terms of pure defense, it was unparalleled. Lin Feng's iron tree clone's strength had increased greatly after transcending the lightning tribulation and reaching the Yuanying stage. In terms of defense, it could be said to be terrifying. After blocking Ancestral Master Kuan Yu's attack, Lin Feng didn't panic. He pointed at him. Two-realm void technique. Lin Feng's Dharma technique was activated, and it targeted the space where Ancestral Master Kuan Yu's lower body was. The boundary of the space was stuck at Ancestral Master Kuan Yu's waist. This Dharma technique was about to directly cut this old monster in half. Ancestral Master Kuan Yu quickly realized that something was wrong. He wanted to use his own Dharma power to stabilize the void, but it was useless. The upper and lower body of a mighty late-stage Yuanying cultivator was directly separated. When Ancestral Master Kuan Yu came back to his senses, he discovered that everything below his waist had disappeared. He looked over in a daze and saw Lin Feng grabbing one of his legs and holding his lower body upside down. Lin Feng smiled. Alright, I have the Kuan Peng bloodline to open the Kuan Peng secret treasure. Ancestral Master Kuan Yu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. With his Yuanying cultivation, he wouldn't die even if his body was cut in half. He still had a chance to possess someone else's body, but how could a new body compare to the original body that had the Kuan Peng bloodline? You are courting death. Ancestral Master Kuan Yu roared angrily. A ball of light flew out from his head and turned into a huge peng. It was covered in green feathers, had a golden beak, and had white feathers on its head. Lin Feng saw this and found it interesting. Oh, this person cultivated the heaven and earth Dharma form. Is it in the form of the Kuan Peng? But why is it only in the form of a peng? The Kuan Peng was a Kuan in the water and a peng when it came out of the water. That was the innate divine ability of the pure Kuan Peng. Ancestral Master Kuan Yu had clearly used his own Dharma power to form the heaven and earth Dharma form. Logically speaking, it should have both the Kuan and Peng forms, but there was only the Peng form in front of him. Ancestral Master Kuan Yu roared and the heaven and earth Dharma form flapped its wings, creating a strong wind. Other than Tao Master Heavenly Wind, Lin Feng had never seen such a powerful wind elemental Dharma power attack in his life. The heaven and earth Dharma form was the foundation of a late-stage Yuanying cultivator's strength. Ancestral Master Kuan Yu's heaven and earth Dharma form attack was much stronger than before. Even though the Shura iron tree was born with a strong defense, it was hard to guarantee its safety against a late-stage Yuaniing cultivator. But Lin Feng had no intention of passively defending. Facing ancestral Master Kun Yu's heaven and earth Dharma form, Lin Feng smiled and stretched out his right hand. Then, he suddenly clenched his fist. There was a loud sound that startled the great void and shook the universe. The entire void in front of Lin Feng suddenly collapsed, turning into endless elements of fire, water, and wind that surged up in an instant. Ancestral Master Kun Yu's heaven and earth Dharma form originally created a strong wind, but when Lin Feng clenched his fist, the void shattered. The endless elements of fire, water, and wind surged. It was like the universe before the creation of heaven and earth. The chaotic four elements of the universe were like a raging flood that rushed toward Ancestral Master Kun Yu. Ancestral Master Kun Yu's expression completely changed. "Who are you?" He didn't dare to hesitate and immediately took out his trump card. The peng above his head spread its wings and the green wings suddenly turned pitch black. When the black wings spread, the entire world suddenly turned dark. It was as if day had instantly turned into night. The world was completely plunged into darkness. All light, all things, all life, everything was swallowed by the darkness. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. What a familiar power intent. The most extreme darkness. Isn't this the darkness origin intent that only the dark beast Mingdu has? Other than the Kun Peng bloodline, you also have the power of Mingdu. Although Ancestral Master Kun Yu used the full power of the two beasts, he still couldn't resist Lin Feng's heaven and earth-shattering Dharma art. The turbulent elements of fire, water, and wind tore through the darkness and reappeared. Ancestral Master Kun Yu's Peng heaven and earth Dharma form grabbed what was left of his body and quickly flew away. The Kun Peng in its Peng form was extremely fast. It was one of the fastest in the entire demon race. Ancestral Master Kun Yu's heaven and earth Dharma form was fully activated. Just his speed alone was comparable to that of a normal essence soul cultivator. This kind of speed wasn't something a Yuaniing cultivator could catch up to. Lin Feng smiled. He waved his hand and a purple flag appeared in front of him. He grabbed the flag and waved it. Immediately, two invisible astral winds rushed out. They passed through the layers of space and chased after Ancestral Master Kun Yu. Ancestral Master Kun Yu was disdainful at first, but he soon realized that the two astral winds were faster than him. These two invisible astral winds were extremely powerful. They formed a cross in the air and slashed at Ancestral Master Kun Yu's heaven and earth Dharma form, directly shattering it. Ancestral Master Kun Yu's entire body was withered, and he still wanted to struggle, but Lin Feng had already caught up. He waved the purple flag again, and another huge black ice soul flew out. It emitted a piercing cold air and froze Ancestral Master Kun Yu. The powerful freezing power made Ancestral Master Kun Yu, a late-stage Yuaniing cultivator, unable to even self-destruct his Yuaniing. He could only watch as he was frozen and unable to resist. This black ice soul was a fake god that Lin Feng had refined using the Yu family's late-stage Yuaniing cultivator, Yu Ilwan's heaven and earth Dharma form. It was much stronger than a Yuaniing cultivator. In a one-on-one battle, Ancestral Master Kun Yu wasn't a match for it. The two astral winds that chased after him weren't ordinary astral winds either. They were fake gods that Lin Feng had refined. He used the Yuaniing and heaven and earth Dharma form of two late-stage wind Yuaniing cultivators from the wind god sect as raw materials. This was the essence of their Tao and the nine sky formless astral wind. Although it was a fake god, its flying speed was still at the primordial spirit level. Lin Feng used the black ice soul fake god to capture Ancestral Master Kun Yu and restrain his Yuaniing. Then, he extracted his divine soul's memory. This person's luck is not bad, but it's equivalent to giving me a gift. Lin Feng thought, other than the Kun Peng's treasure, he actually knows the whereabouts of a complete dark solitary skeleton. Its value is not much less than the Kun Peng's treasure. It might be even more important to me. Within the yin and yang life and death formation's 6 paths of life and death, there is a transformation called the light and darkness transformation. If Lin Feng can obtain the solitary dark skeleton, then maybe he can satisfy one of the 2 core conditions of the light and darkness transformation. Ancestral Master Kun Yu had another secret that slightly surprised Lin Feng. What he had just captured was actually a doppelganger of this person. This old monster's cultivation was at the late stage of yuanying. His doppelganger was also at the late stage of yuanying. He had cultivated 2 heaven and earth dharma forms. One had the Kun shape of the Kun Peng, and the other had the Peng shape of the Kun Peng. In the future, when this person reached the primordial soul realm, he would be different from others. He would have to use a secret method to combine 2 yuanying and 2 heaven and earth dharma forms. But there were many obstacles, so this ancestral Master Kun Yu had always been very concerned about the Kun Peng's treasure. If he could obtain the complete inheritance of the Kun Peng, he would be able to advance steadily and reach the primordial soul realm. Now that his doppelganger had been captured by Lin Feng, his original body naturally got the news. He was angry and afraid. Lin Feng smiled and shook his head. He put away the purple flag and rushed to Qingyang Mountain, which was not far away from Tianjing City. After the exam, Zhu Yi would pay his respects to his mother, Meng Bingyun, and sweep her grave. Lin Feng also just happened to want to verify something. Chapter 404. Lin Feng arrived at Mount Qingyang. At the foot of the mountain, Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, and the others were already waiting for him. Knowing that they were going to visit Zhu Yi's mother's grave, not to mention the little Shi Tianhao, even the noisy Tunton stood there silently. Lin Feng saw Zhu Yi, slightly nodding his head. Tianhao has already told your master about your exam results. You've done well, I'm sure your mother in the underworld will also feel gratified. Zhu Yi said, disciple originally wanted to wait for the autumn examination and get a good result before coming to pay my respects and comfort mother's spirit in heaven. But thinking that I haven't come to visit mother's grave for many years, I was afraid that mother's grave was messy, so I couldn't help but come today. Lin Feng nodded. That's what I should do. Zhu Yi hesitated for a moment and said softly, Master, I want to move my mother's grave to the mountain gate. I hope you will allow me to do so. Sure. Lin Feng agreed, I agree to this matter, you just need to do it. A smile appeared on Zhu Yi's face. Thank you, Master. The group walked up Mount Qingyang. On the way, Zhuge Fengling quietly fell behind. She pulled Tunton and asked, Brother Zhu's mother, was she really the saintess of Taishu Temple? Tunton sneaked a glance at Zhu Yi and whispered, absolutely. It couldn't be more real. Jun Zining was shocked. The saintess of Taishu Temple? Isn't that the Taoist world wayfarer? I heard from my father that Taishu Temple is the world's most sacred place. The Taoist world wayfarer is the leader of Taishu Temple's disciples. If Brother Zhu's mother was really the saintess of Taishu Temple, she should be buried in Taishu Temple. Why was she buried in such a small place? Tunton curled its lips. She violated the rules of Taishu Temple and was expelled. Before she could finish her sentence, Zhu Yi turned around expressionlessly and glanced at her. The little Tao Tai Tunton, who had always been fearless and stubborn even if it was afraid, felt its hairs stand on end when Zhu Yi looked at it. It hurriedly coughed and did not dare to continue speaking. However, she still secretly told Zhuge Fengling and Jun Zining through telepathy, his mother cultivates the Taishang Wang Qing Dao of the 2 supreme great Daos of the Taishu Temple, Tai, and Su, scriptures. She first obtains emotions before forgetting them. She hates to be entangled with other people's emotions the most. In the end, not only did this Meng Bingyun have emotional entanglements with the Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Hongguo, she even betrayed her master for Zhu Hongguo. That's why she ended up in such a miserable state. Jun Zining frowned, her small face wrinkled, this Zhu Hongguo is really a heartless person. Zhuge Fengling grinned and did not say anything. She had seen many people and things, so she did not find it strange. Lin Feng, who was walking at the front of the group, suddenly paused, his gaze looking towards the mountainside. Zhu Yi followed Lin Feng's gaze and looked over, his heart could not help but tighten. Master, did something happen? That's the location of my mother's grave. Lin Feng shook his head. Nothing happened, it's just that there's already someone there. There's someone else? Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, and the rest were all surprised. Their spiritual senses were also quite sharp, but they could not sense the existence of anyone else at all. Even though Lin Feng had already told them that there was someone there, they did not discover anything when they swept over with their divine sense. Lin Feng actually only vaguely felt that there was someone there. Who it was, what Dao technique they cultivated, and what they were doing, he could not see anything at all, as if there was a thick layer of fog separating them. If my original body was here and my divine sense was stronger, perhaps I would be able to see more clearly. Lin Feng shrugged his shoulders and looked at Zhu Yi, whose expression was obviously not good, and said calmly, "It's not a grave robber, you don't have to worry about that." Zhu Yi took a deep breath, nodded, and walked towards Meng Bingyun's grave. In the distance, they could already see Meng Bingyun's grave, but Zhu Yi stopped in his tracks. Because, just as Lin Feng had said, there was a person standing in front of his mother's grave. That person stood there silently, not emitting any aura at all. Even though he was clearly standing there, he gave off a faintly discernible feeling, as if his entire body had merged with heaven and earth, becoming one with the world, leaving not a single trace. But if one saw him with the naked eye, all attention would immediately be drawn to him, as if this person was the center of the entire universe. This person wore embroidered clothes and wore a purple gold crown on his head. His sideburns were slightly white, and his two hands were as white as jade, untainted by even a speck of dust. He gave off a feeling that he held infinite power. Zhu Yi's breathing paused slightly. Ever since he started cultivating, he had seen his true nature, and his unwavering state of mind gradually boiled up. Because this person was his father, the great Zhou Empire's Grand Tutor, the Marquis of Xuanji, Zhu Hongwu. Zhu Hongwu turned around slowly, and his gaze swept past Zhu Yi. "Zhu Yi, you've come to visit your mother's grave." His gaze swept past Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, and the others, and finally landed on Lin Feng. The master of the mysterious gate, Lin Feng? Lin Feng looked at Zhu Hongwu calmly. Beside him, Zhu Yi also stared at this Marquis of Zhou Xuanji. Lin Feng tilted his head slightly. "Shall we?" Zhu Yi's gaze suddenly calmed down, becoming deep and reserved again. Looking at Zhu Hongwu, his gaze also became calm again. Zhu Hongwu's eyebrows twitched slightly. Looking at Zhu Yi, who suddenly became quiet, he was somewhat surprised. He glanced at Zhu Yi a few more times, and then moved his gaze away again, landing on Lin Feng. Lin Feng said calmly, "Marquis of Xuanji, you came at a bad time today." This was a tacit understanding. If Lin Feng did not enter Tianjing City, Emperor Liang Pan and Zhu Hongwu would not make things difficult for Zhu Yi. At the same time, it was not time for the two to meet, and now was not the right time. Zhu Hongwu said calmly, "I will obey His Majesty's decree. This is the duty of an official. I have no intention of being your enemy. I came here today to verify one thing, my private matter." Lin Feng's gaze flashed slightly as he said, "Since it's like this, why not do it now? Some things, it's better to say it clearly today." Hearing Lin Feng say this, Zhu Yi took a step forward and looked at Zhu Hongwu calmly, saying, "Zhu Hongwu, I only came today to ask you one thing. My mother, how did she die?" As soon as he finished speaking, Zhu Yi's entire being seemed to have changed. It was like a kind of transcendence, similar to the ease Xiao Yan felt when he defeated Murong Yenran on Yunqing Peak and finally broke through the blockage in his heart. Back then, in the Marquis's residence, when he faced Zhu Hongwu, even if he had doubts about his mother's death, he did not dare to say it out loud. Because without strength, the reason in his heart could not be upheld. In the face of Zhu Hongwu's strength but no reason, he could only be a yes man and swallow his anger. The world was big, but the reason was the most important. It was the right way for powerful people to reason. At this moment, Zhu Yi's state of mind was clear and carefree. He felt that his spirit and willpower were unprecedentedly complete, and he could almost go through the chilly wind tribulation and advance to the late stage of golden elixir. Hearing Zhu Yi's question, Zhu Hongwu just raised his eyebrows and said, "What did you call me just now? You are also a scholar, but where did all the books you read go? Didn't you read the etiquette? Don't you understand the 3 cardinal principles and 5 virtues? Don't you understand ethics? Why did you call me by my name?" Silently, Zhu Yi said, "The 3 cardinal principles and ethics are for people who have feelings and righteousness. Why should I talk about the 3 cardinal principles and ethics with a heartless person like you? How you treat mother, how you treat me, both of us are clear in our hearts, so there is no need to say one thing at a time, right?" Zhu Hongwu's eyes stared at Zhu Yi, his gaze like 2 cold lightning bolts. After a while, he turned to look at Lin Feng and said coldly, "Lin Feng, is this how you teach your disciple? Disrespectful, improper, and unethical." Lin Feng faintly smiled and said indifferently, "How I teach my disciple, there is no need for others to interfere. Even if it is you, it is the same. Although you are little Yi's blood relative, you have never done your duty to teach. You only know how to use the rules and etiquette to restrain the body and mind of others, satisfying your own desire for control and selfishness. You are a father and a husband in vain." Lin Feng's gaze swept over Meng Bingyun's grave and calmly said, "I do not know what kind of entanglement you had with Meng Bingyun, but you have continued this entanglement to the next generation. You see Zhu Yi as grass, so don't blame Zhu Yi for seeing you as an enemy. There is a cause and there is an effect. The cause and effect you sowed will inevitably end on you. This is the way of the heavens, no one can be an exception." Zhu Hongwu's gaze also fell on Meng Bingyun's grave, his cold expression suddenly disappeared. Silently, he said, "Then you mixed in the cause and effect between us, father and wife. Do you think you can stay out of this?" Lin Feng said indifferently, "I am mixed in, so what?" The spring chill was chilly, the cold wind gusted. After who knows how long, Zhu Hongwu's voice came from the air, "If the heavens want to destroy, they will first make you crazy. Lin Feng, you are not far from death. Unfilial son, you think you can be lawless just because you have Xianmen Tianzong as your backing? You need to know, you are not your master after all." Zhu Yi said calmly, "You also need to know, doing too much evil will only bring about your own destruction." Zhu Hongwu suddenly unfolded a portrait. On the portrait was a woman with peerless beauty. The painter's brushwork was not smooth, and even seemed a bit cold, but it revealed an unparalleled aura, similar to Zhu Hongwu himself. When Zhu Yi saw the woman in the portrait, his breathing slightly paused, because he recognized that the person in the portrait was his mother, Meng Bingyun. Zhu Hongwu unfolded the portrait, silently looked at it for a moment, then said, "Taishu Temple is used to using the people of the world as chess pieces to complete their own arrangements, but they do not know that there is far more than one person playing chess. But, Bingyun, I must admit, you made a good move that exceeded my expectations. This might also be the move you are most proud of in your life." He suddenly turned his head to look at Lin Feng. "I heard that you and Bingyun are old acquaintances." Lin Feng's expression did not change, his heart did not jump. "That's right." Zhu Hongwu looked at the portrait, then looked at the grave at the side, and let out a long sigh. "Good move." His emotions quickly calmed down, the gaze he looked at Lin Feng was a bit strange. "You should also know, the overall arrangement of Taishu Temple has changed, right?" Chapter 405. Lin Feng looked at Zhu Hongwu indifferently. Both of their expressions were very calm. The others, on the other hand, felt a little strange. Zhu Yi was dissatisfied with Zhu Hongwu's words about Meng Bingyun, but he also realized that there were still many things he didn't know before. He still didn't know much about his mother. Lin Feng, on the other hand, had learned many secrets of the Taishu Temple from his previous contact with Yan Mingyue, Miao Shihao, and Chen Gang, so he understood the meaning behind Zhu Hongwu's words. Although the Taishu Temple was divided into conservatives and radicals, relatively speaking, the conservatives had the advantage. Otherwise, the Taishu Temple wouldn't still be in seclusion until now. The purpose of the Taishu Temple's conservatives was to try their best to calm down and eliminate the disputes between the major forces of the human race, preserve the human race's power in the cultivation world, and deal with the upcoming racial war with the demon realm in the future. From a simple point of view, it was actually quite good, but the problem was that even if the Taishu Temple was the #1 holy land of the human race's cultivation world, it was impossible to eliminate the disputes of the various parties with just a few words. Therefore, while the Taishu Temple tried their best to adjust, they also had many methods of their own. Among them, constantly making arrangements to create checks and balances between the major forces was the main method. From a certain point of view, the actions of the Taishu Temple were quite like using the world as a chess piece. Even the Great Lane Temple and the Shu Mountain Sword Sect, which were ranked among the 3 holy lands, were also within the scope of the Taishu Temple's plans. Before the War of Vanquishing Buddhism, the layout of the Taishu Temple was to use the Great Lane Temple to balance the Great Zhou dynasty, and the Shu Mountain Sword Sect to balance the Great Qin dynasty. The 2 holy lands separately restrained the 2 dynasties. This was the restriction between the most powerful forces in the Divine Land. For the slightly weaker forces, there were other ways to restrict them. For example, the confrontation between the Northern Militant Royal Court and the Tian Qi sect also had the shadow of the Taishu Temple behind it. The Taishu Temple would not allow one side to completely destroy the other. Instead, it would constantly weaken the strong and make up for the weak, thus achieving a balance in the overall situation. It would cause both sides to hold back from taking action, and it would not cause a real fight. Since the last war with the Yao realm, the power structure of the human cultivation world had basically stabilized. All the major forces were recuperating. Aside from the occasional demonic cultivators who would be wiped out and disappear, the overall situation in the Divine Land was relatively peaceful. Everything changed because of the Buddhist extermination war. Under the influence of many factors, with the Great Zhou dynasty taking the lead, many forces, including the Mount Shu Sword Sect, formed an alliance and annihilated the Tempest Temple together. The radical faction of the Taishu Temple even personally took action. With the help of the Supreme Formation Breaking Drum and the Divine Martial Immortal Extermination Formation, they forcefully broke the Vairocana Formation. As for the conservative faction of Taishu Temple, for some unknown reason, they strangely remained silent in this battle, watching coldly from the sidelines. After the Buddhist extermination war, the Great Zhou dynasty, which had almost perished together with the Tempest Temple, successfully digested most of the warring states, so their strength did not decrease, but increased. This directly led to the collapse of the Void Temple's original layout. The Great Zhou dynasty lost the Great Thunder Temple's restriction and developed more and more rapidly. They purged the sects and families within their borders and invaded and annexed many of the surrounding small countries, their power growing more and more. Until now, they had already surpassed the originally stronger Great Qin dynasty, and were even eyeing the Great Qin dynasty covetously. This situation naturally made the Taishu Temple worried. At this time, a new force appeared in the eyes of the Taishu Temple and the people of the world. This force was Lin Feng and Xianmen Tianzong. Especially after the Battle of Kunlun Mountain, Xianmen Tianzong had established their position as the overlord of Kunlun Mountain, and had already become a force that could not be underestimated in the Divine Land. According to the consistent principles of the Taishu Temple, the complete destruction of the Wind God's sect was the biggest taboo of the Taishu Temple. In particular, the death of Tao Master Tianfeng, a primordial soul realm cultivator, was even more unacceptable. In the war with the demon clan, every primordial soul realm cultivator was an immeasurable wealth. The more large-scale the war, the more valuable the high-end combat power was. Of course, Lin Feng understood this. Therefore, between Tao Master Tianfeng and Xianming Tao Master Yuxintao, he chose Tao Master Tianfeng because he could use Tao Master Tianfeng as bait to catch the big fish, the Golden Crow Sage. The final result, from the perspective of the human clan and the demon clan, was that the human clan's Tao Master Tianfeng, who was in the first tier of the primordial soul realm, had traded for the demon clan's Golden Crow Great Sage, who was one of the 10 sages of the demon clan. The human clan had made a fortune. In other words, Tao Master Tianfeng and the Golden Crow Sage had perished together. With this as the foundation, the Taishu Temple acquiesced to the fact that Lin Feng had killed Tao Master Tianfeng. Otherwise, they would not have helped Lin Feng block Sword Master Li Meng of the Mount Shu Sword Sect. But Lin Feng would not thank the Taishu Temple, because this was only a part of the Taishu Temple's plan. After the rise of Xianmen Tianzong, it also became a useful pawn in the eyes of the Taishu Temple. However, Xianmen Tianzong still needed to continue to grow, so the Taishu Temple gave him a helping hand. After Xianmen Tianzong completely grew up, the opponent that the Taishu Temple prepared for Xianmen Tianzong was the Mount Shu Sword Sect. Lin Feng, Zhu Hongguo, and some discerning people could already see that the Taishu Temple had begun a new round of its plan. The two most important points in this round of plan were that the Great Zhou Dynasty and the Great Qin Dynasty had changed their opponents. The Mount Shu Sword Sect, which had originally restrained the Great Qin Dynasty, was given to Xianmen Tianzong in the new arrangement of the Taishu Temple. The Great Qin Dynasty would replace the destroyed Great Leiyin Temple to fight against the Great Zhou Dynasty. There were also things that could be adjusted. For example, before the heavenly sect of Xianmen displayed the strength to fight to the death with the Mount Shu Sword Sect, they might first draw the two strongest experts of the Mount Shu Sword Sect and the Great Zhou Dynasty to fight. In short, the final principle of all the arrangements of the Taishu Temple was to balance the overall situation of the Divine Land. Of course, no matter if it was the Great Zhou Dynasty, the Mount Shu Sword Sect, the Great Qin Dynasty, Lin Feng's Xianmen Tianzong, the Tianqi Sect, the Northern Militant Imperial Court, and many other powers, no one would be willing to be a pawn of the Taishu Temple. Everyone had their own calculations and their own goals. It was not that the Taishu Temple had not made mistakes before. Not to mention the distant battles, the Buddhist extermination war was the best example. Who won and who lost, who was the chess player and who was the pawn, who could achieve their own plans, all depended on their own strength and planning. Zhu Hongguo looked silently at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression was calm as he smiled. The Taishu Temple has its own arrangements, but everyone has their own goals and plans. You and Liang Pan should know this the best. The great Zhou Emperor's decision to rule the world is the trend of the times and the will of the heavens. Zhu Hongguo said calmly, this is the trend of the times and not something a single sect can decide. Evil sects trying to control the world and take control of the country are just a joke. When he said this, Zhu Hongguo's gaze was extremely calm. It was so calm that he could not be bothered to argue with others. Hearing this, Zhu Yi's body shook as he stared at Zhu Hongguo. Although Zhu Hongguo did not say it clearly, the meaning behind his words had already revealed the cause of Meng Bingyun's death. Even if there was true love between them, it was inevitable that they would part ways one day. This was because both of them had their own beliefs and goals and were willing to devote their entire lives to them. This was far beyond the feelings between a man and a woman. Zhu Hongguo took one last look at the woman in the portrait. He clenched his hand and a blazing yang energy burst out. The portrait turned black and then started to burn. He did not turn his spiritual power into flames, nor did he gather the fire's spiritual energy in the surroundings. He only used the yang energy of his body to ignite the portrait. That exuberant energy was like the sun in the sky, making people unable to look directly at it. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. The Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Hongwu's martial cultivation of the body was even stronger than the northern Rongzhuxian prince. He was the strongest martial cultivator he had come into contact with after coming to the heaven primal world. Zhu Yi looked at Zhu Hongwu burning the portrait. His fists abruptly clenched tightly, his gaze revealing anger. He could feel that Zhu Hongwu burning the portrait that he had personally drawn in the past was to put an end to the past, to completely sever the ties of love between him and Meng Bingyun. This made Zhu Yi feel a bit lost amidst his anger. He could clearly feel that the Zhu Hongwu who had burned the portrait was completely different. Just like when Zhu Yi questioned Zhu Hongwu, it was a feeling of releasing the shackles of the past. His entire body and mind had transcended and sublimated, his heart feeling incomparably carefree. All the fetters in his heart were completely unblocked, his thoughts unobstructed. In front of Lin Feng and the others, Zhu Hongwu raised his head to look at the sky. The apertures on his body opened and closed together, as if resonating with the stars in the sky, breathing and pulsing together. Endless power erupted. When Zhu Hongwu's energy was surging, it was the same as the northern Rongzhuxian prince. His masculine energy was practically solid, his body seemingly enveloped by a layer of red light, blazing like the sun. But at this moment, the red light disappeared. In Lin Feng's perception, Zhu Hongwu's body seemed to have become a bottomless abyss, like the quiet and dark starry sky. Only the apertures on his body were like specks of starlight, incessantly flickering. Facing Zhu Hongwu was like facing a condensed starry sky of the universe. Shi Tianhao's expression was grave, while Zhuge Fengling, Tunten, and the others all revealed looks of shock and fear. The Zhu Hongwu in front of them was like a divine king that ruled over all the gods of the heavens and earth. His entire body gave off a magical luster, as if he held the most terrifying power in the world. Zhu Yi turned to look at Lin Feng and asked in a deep voice, "Master?" Lin Feng nodded slowly. At this very moment, right in front of us, he has surpassed his previous bottleneck and reached the second tier of the primordial soul stage. It belongs to the second tier of the primordial soul stage. When he first saw Zhu Hongwu, Lin Feng had a feeling that this person's power was already at the peak of the first tier of the primordial soul stage. He was only a paper-thin distance away from the second tier of the primordial soul stage. Once he pierced through that paper-thin layer, he would immediately reach the second tier of the primordial soul stage. From the looks of it, that paper-thin layer was the last flaw in Zhu Hongwu's state of mind, which originated from Meng Bingyun. This flaw was fixed, and Zhu Hongwu immediately reached the second tier of the primordial soul stage. Moreover, Lin Feng could clearly feel that this person's actual combat power was extremely terrifying. Although he had just made a breakthrough and leveled up quietly, his strength was much stronger than that of a veteran second-tier primordial soul stage expert like Shi Zongyue. Even the Golden Crow Sage would not be this person's match. This Zhu Hongwu was also an expert who could fight above his level. When he was at the first tier of the primordial soul stage, he could already challenge the Golden Crow Sage and Shi Zongyue. Chapter 406. For normal cultivators to reach the primordial spirit stage, they fuse their yuanying with the aspect of heaven and earth, yuanying as the soul and the aspect of heaven and earth as the body. Then they fuse it with the power of the laws of the world and finally refine a primordial spirit incarnation. After the majority of cultivators form a primordial spirit incarnation, they will abandon their original physical body. There are already many differences between a primordial spirit incarnation and a soul. Once the soul and the body are united, even if they don't have their original physical body, it doesn't matter. Instead, they will break away from all restraints and be free and unfettered, moving unhindered in the world beyond. But people like the northern militant Prince Wuxian and Zhu Hongwu in front of him purely used physical body martial arts to reach the primordial spirit stage. Their physical bodies have been tempered hundreds and thousands of times and are inconceivably powerful. When they were still in the late yuanying stage, they still didn't leave their body when they formed the aspect of heaven and earth. Pure martial arts experts, when they are in the late yuanying stage, they will fuse the power of the aspect of heaven and earth with their own physical body, using the power of the aspect of heaven and earth to continue strengthening the power of the physical body and blood. When they refine a primordial spirit incarnation, they will also fuse the primordial spirit incarnation with their physical body, abandoning the wondrous effect of the primordial spirit incarnation being unfettered in the world beyond. From this they will obtain even more powerful physical strength. Zhu Hongwu is also an expert with talent that far surpasses normal people. When he was at the first level of the primordial spirit stage, his battle strength could already challenge the second level of the primordial spirit incarnation. Now that he himself has also advanced to the second level of the primordial spirit, he is even more like a demon god descending into the world. No matter if it is Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, or Tunten and the others, they all feel a great pressure when facing Zhu Hongwu. In reality, even Lin Feng's Tai Shu clone standing here feels his heart palpitate when facing Zhu Hongwu. But even more of it is joy. Looking at the Marquis of Xuanji's father Zhu, who is flashing with arrogance, Lin Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. That's the way it should be, otherwise it'll be very easy for you to be crushed to death by Taishu Temple. Liang Pan alone won't be able to hold the fort, it'll be hard for the Zhou dynasty to act. Lin Feng was not worried at all about the great Zhou dynasty's power expanding further. The reason was very simple. Taishu Temple was at the top, and its conservative approach had always been to weaken the strong and strengthen the weak. In other words, to the great Zhou dynasty, the Mount Shu sword sect, the great Qin dynasty, Xianmen Tianzong, the reincarnation sect, and the heavenly sword sect, the Taishu Temple's style was to shoot the bird that stuck out. Taishu Temple liked to use the world as a chess piece, but at the same time, it was also a very useful chess piece in everyone's eyes, especially when they were still relatively weak and their opponents just happened to be getting stronger and stronger. Taishu Temple was definitely the best helper. Between them, they were mutually using each other. As for who was using who, the situation was very delicate. Everything depended on one's heart. The one who laughed last was the one who laughed the best. Of course, this was based on the premise that the Taishu Temple's general policy was that the conservative faction was in charge. If the radical faction was in charge, it would be a different situation. However, if the Taishu Temple was really in charge of the radical faction, then it was very likely that it would become everyone's public enemy. Within the Taishu Temple itself, intense games and contests were also being carried out at all times. Seeing Zhu Hongwu burn the portrait and then break through to the second tier of the primordial spirit realm, Zhu Yi felt very conflicted. The scene before him was sufficient to show that Zhu Hongwu was not completely heartless towards Meng Bingyun. All these years, he had long reached the peak of the first tier of the primordial spirit realm. He was only a paper-thin distance away from the second tier. Once he broke through this paper-thin barrier, he would immediately reach the second tier of the primordial spirit realm. And this last gap in his mental state was the entanglement between him and Meng Bingyun. If not for this shackle, Zhu Hongwu would probably have long reached the second tier of the primordial spirit realm. In Zhu Hongwu's heart, there had always been a corner for Meng Bingyun. Even though the two of them had eventually parted ways, and Zhu Hongwu had even indirectly caused Meng Bingyun's death, there had always been a trace of love between the two of them. Knowing this, Zhu Yi should have felt happy. But now, he only felt his body turn cold. At this moment, in front of Meng Bingyun's grave, in front of Zhu Yi, Zhu Hongwu had completely severed this trace of love. From now on, Meng Bingyun no longer had any trace in Zhu Hongwu's heart. She was just an ordinary person that he had interacted with in his memories. She was no different from anyone else. Zhu Hongwu's breakthrough happened in a short moment. Soon, the majestic aura he exuded vanished without a trace. He became calm once again. Standing there, he looked like an ordinary middle-aged man. But Lin Feng knows that the current Zhu Hongwu can pounce in front of him at any time. His speed is faster than any spell, even faster than a person's thoughts. His opponent doesn't even have the time to react, his brain doesn't even have the time to react, let alone his body. There seemed to be countless stars flashing in Zhu Hongwu's eyes. Then, they were extinguished and turned into streams of light. He stared at Lin Feng with a burning gaze. After a long while, he shook his head. Now is not the time. Lin Feng, you have to thank Taishu Temple. Otherwise, you would not have been able to walk down Qingyang Mountain today. It's not just your avatar. It's the same for your real body. It is the will of the heavens for the great Zhou dynasty to rule the world. Anyone who stands in our way is like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Taishu Temple is so. Anyone who does not understand the bigger picture will be the same. Zhu Hongwu's tone was extremely calm. It was as if he was narrating something that everyone knew. His calm tone contained unshakable faith and confidence that came from great power. Lin Feng looked at Zhu Hongwu and suddenly laughed. There's no need for you to beat around the bush. I know what the great Zhou dynasty is relying on. Your advancement to the second tier of the primordial soul realm might have boosted your confidence, but everyone knows that the increase in your cultivation level is insignificant to the bigger picture. If Liang Pan can advance to the third tier of the primordial soul realm, then the great Zhou dynasty will have more confidence. Zhu Hongwu's expression did not change at all. Silently, he said, "It looks like Yan Mingyue has told you many things." Lin Feng smiled, "But the things you know are a bit lacking. Pay more attention to the great Qin dynasty. There's an impressive big guy being created there. It's almost completed." Oh. Zhu Hongwu's expression changed for the first time since the conversation began. His aura trembled slightly. The temperature of the entire Qingyang mountain plummeted. The air seemed to freeze. Even the dust in the air froze in midair. Only Lin Feng and the people of the celestial sect of wonders behind him were not affected. Zhu Yi looked at Zhu Hongwu, whose expression suddenly changed, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. From the moment they met, Lin Feng had mostly stayed out of the conversation. He gave the right to speak to Zhu Yi, allowing him and Zhu Hongwu to settle their differences. Although Zhu Yi was no longer the same as before, he was still weaker than Zhu Hongwu. Therefore, Zhu Hongwu had always been in control of the conversation. In the end, he had used the power of breaking through to the second tier of the primordial soul realm to raise his aura to the peak. But now, Lin Feng had suppressed Zhu Hongwu with a single sentence. Zhu Hongwu was still the Marquis Xuanji of the great Zhou dynasty. He was second only to one and above everyone else. He was still a super expert of the second tier of the primordial soul realm. But at this moment, he no longer had the domineering aura he had when he had just advanced. The Great Qin Dynasty. Zhu Hongwu's loss of composure only lasted for a moment. He quickly regained his composure. His face was expressionless. They want to move their home base. During the last great war between the human race and the demon race, it was already damaged beyond recognition. It has not been repaired after thousands of years. It is impossible for them to do it by themselves. It seems that someone is helping them. The expression on Lin Feng's face was as calm as the clouds and wind. He said quietly, "Liang Pan has the thought of becoming the Saint Emperor of the human race, unifying the vast land of the divine prefecture, and then controlling the heavens, turning the 9-5 venerables into the 9-9 venerables." Slowly, Zhu Hongwu said, "The general trend cannot be defied." After saying these words, Zhu Hongwu turned to leave. Just as he was about to leave, Zhu Yi said silently, "I will move Mother's grave back to Yujing Mountain." Zhu Hongwu did not even turn his head. His footsteps did not stop. "Up to you. In any case, she cannot enter the Zhu family's ancestral grave. It is the same wherever she is buried." Hearing this, Zhu Yi was still calm. He was no longer angry. Instead, he smiled. "In the future, I will personally bury Mother in the Zhu family's ancestral grave." Huh? Zhu Hongwu's footsteps suddenly stopped. Without turning his head, he asked coldly, "What did you say?" Zhu Yi smiled. "Don't misunderstand. It is not because of the glory of entering the Zhu family's ancestral grave, nor is it to make up for any regrets. It is only because I feel that if I do this, your expression will be very interesting. If Mother's spirit in heaven sees this scene, she will definitely think that I have a childish temper and likes to cause trouble. But she will also smile." Silently, Zhu Hongwu did not move. Although there was a smile on Zhu Yi's face, there was not the slightest warmth in his eyes as he looked at Zhu Hongwu's back. Lin Feng looked at this scene with interest, saying in his heart, "Tisk tsk, Xiaoyi oh Xiaoyi, you've really pulled the hate in the right place. Even though he was squeezed by your master just now, but after all he's a martial cultivator, he'd rather break than bend. Compared to normal cultivators his temper is much more violent, it's very possible that he'll immediately make a move right now." Just as Lin Feng thought, Zhu Hongwu now really had the idea of immediately making a move to kill Zhu Yi. But his eyebrows twitched, and he only looked back at Zhu Yi with disdain. Then, he left and disappeared without a trace. Seeing Zhu Hongwu disappear, Lin Feng shrugged his shoulders and put away the bulwark umbrella that was already secretly in his hand. The smile on Zhu Yi's face disappeared. He looked in the direction in which Zhu Hongwu had left. His expression was indifferent and he did not speak for a long time. After paying his respects to Meng Bingyun, Zhu Yi used his dermic powers to dig out the soil and stones around the grave. He did not touch the grave itself. Then, with the help of Lin Feng, he brought it back to Yujing Mountain and buried it behind his own cave residence, the Qian Tian Palace. Silently, Lin Feng found that Zhu Yi's current state of mind was calm and composed. It was much stronger than before, and it had transcended the shackles that Zhu Hongwu had placed on him. Sure enough, Zhu Yi's temperament and cultivation had improved. After greeting Lin Feng and settling down the disciples, Zhu Yi entered the dark heaven timeless cave and began to seclude himself to further sort out the gains from this trip to Tianjing City. Oh. After watching Zhu Yi enter the cave, Lin Feng was about to study Kun Yu's Kunpeng bloodline when his heart suddenly shook. His divine sense swept over and saw that Tunten did not return to desolate Heaven Valley but instead came to Yujing Mountain and stealthily walked towards the stone room where Hu Yanyan lived. Lin Feng grinned. "Troublemaker, what are you up to now?" Chapter 407. The little Taotai, Tunten, looked left and right like a weasel stealing a chicken as it quietly walked towards Hu Yanyan's stone room. Hu Yanyan was originally Xiao Yan's neighbor, but after Xiao Yan had his own burning heaven cliff cave dwelling, Lin Feng did not continue to trick him. Hu Yanyan stayed on Mount Yujing and lived in her original place. Lin Feng looked at Tunten in amusement. "You're also a brat. You want to take advantage of Hu Yanyan being trapped by the mysterious heaven tribulation flame to hit her while she's down to take revenge?" Sure enough, after Tunten entered Hu Yanyan's stone room, it stared maliciously at the fire fox in human form. After studying Hu Yanyan for a long time, Tunten curled its lips, its face filled with dissatisfaction and jealousy. "You foxes are all like this. Even if it was a demon, even if it was also a female, even if it had yet to reach adulthood," Tunten, who had a deep understanding of the aesthetics of the human race, had to admit that Hu Yanyan was breathtakingly beautiful. Her facial features were perfect without the slightest flaw, and her figure was exquisite and alluring. Her temperament was natural, but her expression was cold and indifferent, forming a strange contrast. She restrained the unique seductive aura of the Fox clan, making Hu Yanyan's beauty even more aggressive and invasive. Tunten looked at Hu Yanyan and then looked down at its clearly undeveloped lowly appearance. Tunten felt increasingly unhappy, and its little face scrunched up like a bun. It bared its teeth and shouted at Hu Yanyan, "Every dog has its day. You bullied me on behalf of Hu Fen. Now it's time to pay your debt." Hu Yanyan's expression was cold and indifferent as she leaned against the wall of the stone room. She appeared very weak, but there was a different kind of lazy beauty to her. She did not even glance at Tunten as she said indifferently, "Haven't you been beaten enough?" Upon hearing these words, coupled with Hu Yanyan's complete disregard for her, Tunten immediately bristled. Although Hu Yanyan clearly looked extremely weak, Tunten still felt a dull pain all over its body. Back in the vast heaven wasteland continent, Tunten's initial demon king cultivation was completely powerless against Hu Yanyan, who was an advanced demon king. It was beaten 6 or 7 times and was beaten miserably each time. If Hu Yanyan wasn't wary of the Taotai saint, Tunten would have been beaten to death several times. Although his body was no longer the same as before, Tunten could still feel the pain from where Hu Yanyan had injured him in the past. The little Taotai stomped her feet and scolded, "It's not good for me to kill you on Mount Yujing, but today I will definitely chop off a few of your tails and make a fox skin scarf for my mother." Hu Yanyan said faintly, "It shouldn't be a problem to destroy your current physical body. Just leave behind a remnant soul like what happened to the Blackwater mysterious underworld." After saying that, 6 swaying flames suddenly lit up behind Hu Yanyan. They were like 6 tails that kept swaying in the air. Tunten looked as if it had seen a ghost and nearly choked on its own saliva. 6 tails. You've already recovered to the initial Demon King level so quickly. Hu Yanyan did not leave the house during her stay on Mount Yujing and quietly stayed in her stone room. She was constantly working hard to refine the mysterious heaven tribulation flame that was wreaking havoc in her body. More and more of the mysterious heaven tribulation flame was suppressed and refined, turning into power that Hu Yanyan could control. As the number of mysterious heaven tribulation flames that were wreaking havoc decreased, Hu Yanyan could gradually divide her demonic power that was originally restrained and recover her strength. Today, she had already recovered to the initial Demon King level. Tunten suddenly felt nervous. She had fought with Hu Yanyan too many times and knew that she was a genius of the new generation of the Fox clan. She was extremely talented in combat and had cultivated many powerful magical abilities of the Fox clan. Her actual combat strength would only be higher than her cultivation. However, I now have the true sun fire and my physical body is stronger than before. Although I haven't formed a demon nascent soul again, my strength is not weaker than the initial Demon King level of my previous body. I shouldn't be afraid of her. While Tunten was thinking, she suddenly felt that something was wrong. After careful observation, she suddenly discovered that the 6 swaying flame tails behind Hu Yanyan were faintly flashing with a dark and ferocious black aura. Mysterious heaven tribulation flame. Tunten immediately understood what was going on, and her hair stood on end. The other party's cultivation was higher than hers, and she did not have an advantage in magical abilities. If she still fought head-on, she would most likely not be able to win. Tunten's face scrunched up as she hesitated, unable to advance or retreat. But if I just go back like this, I will lose too much face. I will definitely be laughed at by that little bastard Shi Tianhao. Didn't we agree to give him a fox tail? Just as the little Tao Tai was in a dilemma, a figure suddenly appeared outside the stone room. The person was dressed in purple with a black robe on the outside. His hands were behind his head as he walked in. He could not help but be taken aback when he saw Tunten. Why are you here? The person who came was Lin Feng's eldest disciple, Xiao Yan. Tunten and Hu Yanyan were both taken aback when they saw him. Tunten was immediately enraged, and she snorted disdainfully. She looked at Xiao Yan with an unfriendly gaze. I should be the one asking you. Why are you here? What bad things do you want to do sneakily? You males are all like this, thinking about what's in the pot while eating from the bowl. Don't forget that you already have a wife waiting for you there. How can you run into another woman's room like this? How can you face her? Xiao Yan rolled his eyes. What nonsense are you talking about? I was ordered by my master to deliver something to her. Tunten's face was full of doubt. Deliver what? Why did she send you here? If it's just to deliver something, those children can do it. If it's to deliver something, I can deliver it too. Why didn't she let others deliver it? Why did she have to ask you to deliver it? Xiao Yan snorted unhappily, because I want to do a demonstration. As he spoke, he gently spread his magic power, and a few tiny ice crystal-like water droplets floated in a ball of purple gas. Hu Yanyan's and Tunten's eyes lit up when they saw it. They could feel the rich ice-type qi contained within. It was cold but not biting cold. Instead, it was very gentle. A look of understanding appeared on Tunten's face. This is the Heaven Pool Sect's freezing ice dew. Xiao Yan nodded. This was won by 5th junior brother during the Desolate Sea magic gathering. 5th junior brother remembered that I was trapped by the true fire in my body, so he specially sent a lot over. I tried it, the effect is very good. Master used his magic power to send me a voice transmission just now. He ordered me to transfer a portion of it to this fellow from the Fox clan. As there are some things to pay attention to during the refinement, I wanted to do a personal demonstration, so I personally delivered it. Share some with me too. Tunten looked at the freezing ice dew enviously, but she quickly returned to her senses and snorted in dissatisfaction. Humph, why did the sect master ask you to deliver something to this fox? Has the sect master taken a fancy to her? Xiao Yan stared at Tunten with a smile that did not seem like a smile. Perhaps Master found out that someone is up to no good, so he specifically asked me to ruin her plans? Tunton shrunk its neck guiltily and glanced at Hu Yanyan. It was just in time to get out of the situation. Humph, count yourself lucky. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble today. Hu Yanyan's eyes turned cold. Silently, she said, if you don't get out, you can prepare a new body. Tunton flew into a rage. You, Xiao Yan interrupted her. Tunton, go back to the desolate Sky Valley. Tunton said angrily, don't give me that. You've turned into a sick cat now. Who are you trying to scare? Xiao Yan chuckled. Looks like someone has misunderstood my current situation. It's not that I can't fight. On the contrary, I now possess 3 types of true fire and am much stronger than before. It's just that I still can't control this power freely. But where is this place? This is Yujing Mountain, and Master hasn't left the mountain. After I fight, Master can help me suppress the uncontrollable power at any time. Whether I fight or not depends on whether I want to or not. Although he was smiling, his smile clearly carried a sense of ferocity and viciousness. Xiao Yan had never been a soft-tempered person. Being trapped by the power of the true fire and unable to fight had already made him depressed. Even in the Kunlun Mountain battle, which was extremely important to the sect, he could only watch from the sidelines and be a cheerleader. He had long been suppressing a bellyful of anger. Hu Yanyan glanced at Xiao Yan. Although the 6 flaming tails behind her were not withdrawn, the power of the black mysterious heaven tribulation flame within the flames was withdrawn. Xiao Yan's words just now were directed at Tunton, but it was not without the intention of warning her. Helping outsiders bully me, humph. Tunton shouted in dissatisfaction. Xiao Yan shrugged his shoulders. I just hate it when people take advantage of others. You are all in peak condition. If you fight, I will just stand at the side and applaud. Tunton opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Everyone was in peak condition, and it wasn't like they had never fought before. Every time, she would be beaten half to death by Hu Yanyan. If you have the ability, you can guard her every day. Tunton stomped its feet and turned to leave. Xiao Yan sneered. You speak as if you have the guts to come a second time. Her strength will only recover day by day, okay? Children don't know any better. I've let you see a joke. He turned to look at Hu Yanyan and saw that she had withdrawn her 6 flaming tails and was looking at him calmly. Hu Yanyan was still wearing the fiery red fur coat. Under the coat was a snow-white body with jade-like skin. Xiao Yan coughed dryly. Well. Do you mind changing back to your fox form? Hu Yanyan did not speak, nor did she change back to her original form as Xiao Yan wished. Silently looked at him, but her eyes were very cold and did not have the slightest warmth. It was as if she was looking at a lifeless object, like a table or a stone. Xiao Yan curled his lips and felt that it was quite boring. He personally demonstrated how to use the freezing dew, and Hu Yanyan only watched calmly without any reaction. She only collected the freezing dew that Xiao Yan left for her. In the end, Xiao Yan practically ran out of the stone room like he was fleeing. Master, don't look for me for this kind of thing in the future. It's simply a combination of ice and fire. This kind of punishment is really not something that a human can bear. Xiao Yan was extremely sad and indignant. And Lin Feng, who he was complaining about, was currently looking at the little Tao Tai in front of him with a smile on his face. I must beat that Hu Yanyan. I must be stronger than her. I must pull a few of her tails to make a leather collar. Chapter 408. Hu Yanyan shrank back as she watched Xiao Yan run out of the stone room. She curled up her legs again, hugged her arms, and leaned against the stone wall behind her. She looked up at the ceiling of the stone room in a daze. Although Hu Yanyan rarely left the stone room these days, she had been secretly observing everyone on Jade Capital Mountain, especially the people she had contact with. The ruler of Jade Capital Mountain, the master of the celestial sect, Lin Feng. Hu Yanyan felt that she couldn't see through him at all. Facing Lin Feng was like facing her mother, the celestial fox nine-tailed great saint. She saw that Lin Feng was a very easygoing person when he was with his disciples, but she had heard that he had suppressed the golden crow great saint not long ago. He was one of the 10 saints of the demon race along with Hu Yanyan's mother. He had intruded into the divine land more than once or twice and turned the human world upside down each time before safely returning to Infinite Wasteland. Who would have thought that he would be defeated by the master of the celestial sect this time? Lin Feng's little disciple, Shi Tianhao, was a little demon king. It was all thanks to him that Hu Yanyan was brought back to Jade Capital Mountain. As for Tunten, Hu Yanyan was most likely the person she was most familiar with on Jade Capital Mountain. The two had interacted many times in Infinite Wasteland. Every time Tunten came to cause trouble for Hu Fen, Hu Yanyan would be the one to send it away. Hu Yanyan sighed at the thought of Hu Fen and her other siblings. They were all a group of troublesome little foxes who caused all kinds of trouble all day long. It was naturally not good to alarm the celestial fox great saint and the other elders of the clan, so Hu Yanyan had to deal with them. She was the eldest daughter of the celestial fox great saint. She shielded her sister-in-law from the wind and rain, cleaned up after her sister-in-law caused trouble, and took the blame for those little brats. It had almost become a part of her life. Hu Yanyan involuntarily glanced at the entrance of the stone room. Xiao Yan's miserable figure seemed to still be there. From what she knew, he was also a bitter, dirty, and tiring senior brother. Shaking her head, Hu Yanyan consumed a drop of frigid frost dew and began to cultivate, continuing to suppress and refine the abstruse heaven tribulation flame that was wreaking havoc in her body. On the other side, Lin Feng, who Hu Yanyan felt was unfathomable, was looking at the little Taotai, Tunten, who was jumping around in front of him with a smile on his face. In the past, I only heard you say that you were going to fight the Blackwater mysterious underworld. However, I have never heard of such an enemy. Tunten pursed its lips at Lin Feng's teasing and hatefully said, the Blackwater mysterious underworld is an enemy, while Hu Yanyan is a mortal enemy. Lin Feng looked at her and couldn't help but find it funny. He actually knew exactly what was going on. The battle between Tunten and the Blackwater mysterious underworld being had nearly ended in mutual destruction. The two were basically on the same level of power. However, Tunten was completely powerless against Hu Yanyan. It was basically a punching bag that took a beating. For the sake of Hu Fen, Hu Yanyan had beaten Tunten countless times. Rather than saying that Tunten hated Hu Yanyan, it was more accurate to say that it was afraid of her. If Hu Yanyan hadn't suffered from the mysterious heaven tribulation flame, Tunten wouldn't even have the guts to think about revenge. It had finally had a chance to take revenge, but Hu Yanyan's strength was gradually recovering. Tunten naturally became anxious as the opportunity slipped away from its eyes. Lin Feng shook his head and said with a smile, forget it. You have been finding your own food to eat these days. I really haven't given you anything delicious to eat. I will make it up to you today. With a wave of his sleeve, half a corpse landed in front of Tunten. It was the remains of Kunyue ancestral master. Tunten's eyes lit up and it wrinkled its little nose. It circled around the corpse a few times and muttered, oh, it smells so strange. There is the power of the demon race's bloodline, but I can't tell what it is. It should be something I haven't eaten before. Lin Feng said, your little nose is quite sharp. That's the bloodline of Kuanpeng, and it's a very pure bloodline. But now, it's naturally a hybrid. Kuanpeng. Tunten cheered. I really haven't eaten it before. Great, great. After circling a few more times, Tunten's eyes were full of stars. According to the human race's standards, it's the late-stage Yuanying. According to the demon race's standards, it's the late-stage demon king. Oh my, I've picked up the meat of a late-stage demon king. Even in Tianhuang vast land, I can only encounter such good things when I snatch food from my dad's mouth. And there's only a little of it. Now, so much of it belongs to me. Tunten felt as if his little chest was filled with happiness. He was so moved that tears almost streamed down his face. She pounced in front of Lin Feng, grabbed Lin Feng's sleeve and shook it hard. "It's all mine, isn't it?" Lin Feng nodded with a smile. Tunton cheered again. Like a ferocious tiger pouncing on a sheep, she flew into the air and landed on the half-severed corpse. The next moment, she had already transformed into the original form of a Taotai. She let out a cry that sounded like a baby's cry and then opened her cheeks to eat. Halfway through, she suddenly stopped and transformed back into her human form. She wiped her saliva and looked at the remains of the corpse. She opened her mouth and swallowed the whole thing. However, she did not eat it, but temporarily stored it. Lin Feng watched this scene with interest. "Why didn't you continue eating?" Tunton swallowed hard. "Such good food, I can't bear to finish it all at once. I saved it and continued eating next time." She suddenly looked at Lin Feng fiercely, snorting, "Don't think that I don't know, next time you give me good food, who knows how long you'll have to wait." Lin Feng looked at her with a faint smile. "On my Yujing Mountain, haven't you stolen and eaten enough? Over at Xiaoqing's Nirvana Utopia, the lunar true water has decreased by a lot. Who did it? Some of the spirit herbs in the Medicine Valley have even been uprooted. Who did it? Even the cyclic purple qi on my Yujing Mountain has been lost. Who did it?" Tunton shrunk her neck and smiled awkwardly. "I just ate a little, not much, just a little." As she spoke, her expression suddenly changed and she hurriedly bowed to Lin Feng. "Elder, I'm going to undergo the lightning tribulation and form my demon nascent soul." "As expected." Lin Feng nodded. "You ate so much, it's time to digest it." Tunton let out a cry and transformed back into her original Taotai form. Light flashed above her head and a dazzling Yaodan appeared. Sure enough, thunder rumbled in the air above Yujing Mountain. Under Lin Feng's protection, Tunton began to undergo the lightning tribulation and once again advanced towards the Demon King stage. The commotion alarmed the others on the mountain. Both King Kuei Nyo and King Feilian were at Tiny Tot's desolate Heaven Valley, and the only great demon left on Yujing Mountain was demonic dragon Jiayu. He came to Lin Feng's side and silently watched Tunton undergo the lightning tribulation. Seeing that Tunton's Yaodan was able to withstand the lightning tribulation without much effort, Jiayu knew that Tunton had accumulated a lot of experience and was almost certain to pass the lightning tribulation. "Sect Master really cares for us demons," Jiayu flattered. Jie Feng flattered him. "With the help of the faction master, this girl will definitely be able to survive the thunder tribulation and become a monster king." Lin Feng smiled and turned to look at the old dragon. "How is the refinement of the mysterious underworld banner that I gave you?" Jiayu hurriedly said, "It has been completely refined. I still have to thank Sect Master for the treasure." Lin Feng shook his head with a smile. "I know that you have contributed to the sect. That is the reward you deserve." Jiayu nodded with a silly smile. "It is all thanks to Sect Master's magnanimity that you sympathize with us." Lin Feng's main body was at Tunton's side, watching over her during the lightning tribulation, while the Iron Tree clone was at Yang Qing's Nirvana Utopia. Yang Qing's expression was a little dejected. Lin Feng shook his head with a bitter smile. He originally thought that Yang Qing would only encounter a big bottleneck when she formed her core, but now it seemed that she had encountered a bigger obstacle when she condensed her Tao cauldron. However, the problem was the same. If she passed this obstacle, it would not be too difficult for Yang Qing to form her core in the future. Lin Feng smiled and flicked his finger. A speck of light entered the space between Yang Qing's eyebrows. Yang Qing was stunned. The speck of light that entered his body was not something like magic power, but a trace of Lin Feng's divine sense, which recorded the specific location of a location. "Little Qing Z, this is the address of your third senior brother's hometown. He is currently living there. On one hand, he is visiting his parents, and on the other hand, he is also carrying out a special kind of cultivation." Lin Feng explained, "You can go there to find him and carry out the same cultivation with him." I believe it will be of great help to you in breaking through the current bottleneck. Yang Qing took a deep breath and nodded. I will follow Master's instructions. Lin Feng opened his palm. There was a jade talisman in the center of his palm. The waves of magic power inside it were vast and cold. It was a Yuanying realm magic tool. He had seized it from a Yuanying realm cultivator from Wind God sect. You haven't formed your gold core yet, so Yuanying realm magic tools can't be used as they should be. This magic tool itself is also not suitable for you. Lin Feng handed the jade talisman to Yang Qing. For now, I will give it to you as a means of transportation. After you form your gold core, Master will give you another Yuanying realm magic tool that is suitable for you. Yang Qing received the jade talisman respectfully. With Lin Feng's help, he refined it and firmly remembered the method to use it. Then, he bid farewell to Lin Feng. Under the protection of Lin Feng's magic power, he left Mount Yujing and arrived at the colossal world. He raised the jade talisman in his hand. The jade talisman immediately shone with a green light, and a lifelike silhouette of a Phylian emerged from it. Yang Qing landed on the silhouette of the Phylian. With a thought, the silhouette of the Phylian broke through the void and entered it. With the magical effect of the Yuanying realm magic tool to travel through space, although Wang Lin's hometown was located at the border of the Great Qin dynasty's southern border and was a long way from Mount Kunlun, Yang Qing arrived there very quickly. After arriving, Yang Qing couldn't help but be a little dazed. Previously on Mount Yujing, he had a conversation with Wang Lin. He knew that Wang Lin's hometown was a small and poor village. But now, according to the direction indicated by Lin Feng, what appeared in front of him was clearly an extremely huge town. The scale naturally couldn't be compared to a big city, but people came and went, and it was abnormally prosperous and lively. No matter how he looked at it, it couldn't be compared to a small village. But the direction Lin Feng gave was definitely not wrong. This made Yang Qing feel a little confused. He was just about to crush the sound-transmitting crystal to contact Wang Lin when he suddenly felt a few auras of magic power appear nearby and approach him. Chapter 409. Yang Qing felt a few auras of magic power appear nearby and approach him. They were all Foundation Establishment cultivators. Vaguely, there was also the aura of a golden elixir period cultivator slightly surging, but he didn't approach. He seemed to be observing. After approaching, the few Foundation Establishment stage cultivators stopped one after another, still hiding in the dark and not coming out. Only one person appeared in front of Yang Qing. After seeing Yang Qing's appearance, his eyes flashed and he asked tentatively, "May I ask if you're the direct disciple of the master of Xian Men, fellow Taoist Yang Qing?" Yang Qing answered cautiously, "I'm Yang Qing." "You are?" The Foundation Establishment cultivator let out a sigh of relief. As for the other cultivators hiding in the dark, they had been on high alert at the beginning, but now they also relaxed. The Foundation Establishment cultivator in front of Yang Qing cupped his hands. "Hello, Taoist Yang. We're all cultivators of the Qin dynasty. We were ordered to protect your sects Wang Lin and Wang Jinren's family to prevent any ignorant scoundrels from disturbing them. Wang Jinren returned half a year ago, so there's no need to worry about the safety of this place. However, we were ordered to do this, so we still stayed here and never left." At the Desolate Sea Assembly, although Yang Qing wasn't as dazzling as Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, and Yu Hongyan, he still attracted a lot of attention from the outside world. Even though his cultivation was only at Foundation Establishment, he had already entered the eyes of various big forces. Not for anything else, but because he was one of Lin Feng's 6 direct disciples, this alone was enough to attract attention. At this time, the other Foundation Establishment stage cultivators also came out from the shadows and greeted Yang Qing one after another. In the eyes of the Essence Soul stage and Nascent Soul stage big shots, Yang Qing might still be very immature, but to these Foundation Establishment stage cultivators, Yang Qing was already worthy of their respect. During the Desolate Sea Assembly, Yang Qing defeated Fang Zhong, a disciple of the Celestial Pool sect who was at the late stage of foundation establishment with his mid-stage foundation establishment cultivation. This was enough to prove his strength, and at the same time, it also showed the demonic grace of Lin Feng's personal disciples. Yang Qing was a gentle and courteous person. When she greeted everyone, she did not have the slightest arrogance, causing these foundation-building cultivators to feel as if they were bathing in the spring breeze. At this moment, a middle-aged man with 3 strands of beard appeared in front of Yang Qing. He was the Golden Elixir period cultivator that the Great Qin dynasty had arranged to stay here. Yang Qing also greeted him. Her attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. When the middle-aged man saw this, he secretly nodded his head. "This time, I came here to look for my senior brother Wang Lin, I wonder." Yang Qing looked at the flourishing town in front of her. The middle-aged man smiled. "My Great Qin dynasty is focusing on developing the southern border, and this is one of the important places. The population here is getting denser and denser, and the trade is getting more and more prosperous. The Great Qin dynasty already has plans to build a city here, and they will start construction soon." Yang Qing opened her mouth but didn't say anything. The middle-aged cultivator did not say it clearly, but Yang Qing naturally understood that all of this was brought about by Wang Lin. In other words, it was brought about by Wang Lin and Xianmen Tianzong behind him. When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs rise to the heavens. When ordinary people entered a cultivation sect to learn the Tao, they could go home to visit their relatives, become the family's support, and raise the status of their family in the village. This was already very good. Or to put it bluntly, they could let their family use their name and power to do whatever they wanted in their hometown. And because of his existence, Wang Lin's hometown was undergoing earth-shaking changes. From a small village in the past, it was directly upgraded to a new prosperous area in the Great Qin dynasty's southern border, and in the future, it would directly become a majestic city. The fates of everyone within a radius of close to 100 li could change because of this. The middle-aged Golden Elixir period cultivator pointed at the lively town and said, "Daoist Wang is currently at the east of the town. He lives with his parents." Yang Qing nodded. "Thank you, this one will go find him now." Seeing Yang Qing leave, a Great Qin dynasty cultivator shook his head and sighed. "Fortunately, this person's cultivation is still at the foundation establishment stage. Otherwise, I would really suspect that all these years of cultivation have been in vain." Everyone else, including the middle-aged Golden Elixir period cultivator, nodded in agreement. When Wang Lin returned half a year ago, after confirming that he had successfully formed his gold core, everyone was dumbfounded. They felt that their past knowledge and experience had been completely overturned, and they only felt that the world in front of them was so unfamiliar. At the Desolate Sea Assembly not long before Wang Lin returned, his cultivation was only at the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. But when Wang Lin returned to his hometown, he was impressively already a cultivator of the Golden Elixir period. In less than 2 months, his cultivation had suddenly skyrocketed from the foundation establishment stage to the Golden Elixir period. This was simply blinding everyone's eyes. If it was said that Wang Lin had previously hidden his cultivation, it did not make sense. At the Desolate Sea Assembly, let alone the Yuanying stage-old ancestors, a group of primordial spirit big shots stood there. Whether Wang Lin's cultivation was in the Golden Elixir period or the foundation establishment stage was obvious to them at a glance. Precisely because of this, it was shocking. When the news spread to Xiling City, the capital of the Great Qin dynasty, everyone who paid attention to Xianmen Tianzong immediately raised Wang Lin's importance level. In the intelligence system of the major forces, the person who deserved the most attention in Xianmen Tianzong was undoubtedly the sect master, Lin Feng. Among the remaining people, the ones who received the most attention were Lin Feng's personal disciples. Although the 2 Dharma protectors, Miao Shihao and Kang Nanhua, had the highest cultivation as they were both Yuanying stage cultivators, it was not difficult to investigate their origins. Their relationship with Lin Feng was definitely not as close as Xiao Yan and Wang Lin. Among the disciples, Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao received the most attention. This was mainly because their family backgrounds were the most extensive and had the most far-reaching influence. The first disciple, Xiao Yan, his level of attention was basically the same as Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao. His family background was not that complicated, but his strength was strong enough. Even though he did not participate in the Desolate Sea Assembly, his battle with Qin Chongyan's crown prince on cloud-traversing peak had already made his name known throughout the world. The next person to receive attention was Yu Hongyan. The background of Snowgale country and the society of the Strong Gale was not hard to investigate. Connecting it to the grudge between her and the great Zhou dynasty, in the eyes of many people, she was also a person worth paying attention to. Even though Wang Lin was ranked third among the disciples under Lin Feng's tutelage, the amount of attention he received was completely at the bottom. But at this moment, the level of attention that Wang Lin received had already directly surpassed Yu Hongyan, even above Xiao Yan, directly catching up to Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao. Right now everyone was secretly paying attention to the people of Xianmen Tianzong, then more and more discovered the terrifying strength hidden within. These cultivators who were ordered to look after Wang Lin's family naturally had the most direct understanding of this. The foundation establishment stage cultivators still did not have a deep feeling, but that golden elixir period cultivator could instead see even more things. Before, when Wang Lin returned home, even though he looked like an ordinary person, he made people tremble with fear. That middle-aged golden elixir period cultivator secretly sighed in his heart, just what kind of sect is Xianmen Tianzong, just what kind of person is that legendary master of the Xianmen Gate? Even though Yang Qing did not know what these cultivators were thinking, but Wang Lin shocking the world was already something that was within the expectations of everyone in Xianmen Tianzong. The reason is very simple. Back then Wang Lin charged all the way from the foundation establishment stage to the golden elixir period in a short amount of time. Even his fellow apprentices were shocked. It's fine if you don't make a sound, but you amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Wang Lin could be said to have fully embodied this saying. Yang Qing walked on the streets of the town, politely asking the residents here for the specific address of Wang Lin's home. Following the directions along the way, he walked towards Wang Lin's home. In the process of asking for directions, a lot of discussions also entered Yang Qing's ears. Speaking of which, is that Wang Lin really an immortal? I don't see anything outstanding about him normally. He's no different from my family's big brat. It should be true, even the Wang family members have admitted it. You don't know, in the Wang family, Wang Lin's father's side of the family actually had no status, but now you see, the Wang family's patriarch and a group of elders, when they see Wang Lin's father, they are all polite. But aren't immortals supposed to call the wind and summon the rain, eat the wind and drink the dew? Look at that Wang Lin, he is still helping his parents work. His family can now afford to hire servants to help. It is understandable that the Wang family's old couple said that they are not used to this kind of life, but why does Wang Lin still want to do that kind of rough work? Aya, you don't understand, people are willing to be filial to their parents, that is because this person has filial piety, not forgetting their roots. You should have also heard, it is precisely because of Wang Lin's relationship that we are now so prosperous, even to the point of building a city soon. Even if Wang Lin is not an immortal himself, he must have found a good master, a good backer. Otherwise, the Wang family also has other disciples who are disciples of immortal cultivation, and Wang Lin's backer is not strong enough. Why would those people respect him? Hearing these discussions, Yang Qing smiled and shook her head, ignoring them, and continued walking forward. When she passed by a large residence, suddenly, a ray of light flew over her head. Yang Qing looked up and thought to herself, this person looks a little familiar, I remember now, I saw him at the Desolate Sea Assembly, he seems to be third senior brother's clan brother. The ray of light was a long saber, and on the long saber stood a youth in gray, with qi refinement cultivation. It was Wang Lin's clan brother, Wang Zhuo. When Wang Zhuo saw Yang Qing, he revealed a surprised expression, as if he was curious why Yang Qing was walking slowly on the ground like a normal person. However, he still stopped the long saber and bowed to Yang Qing. This was his respect for Yang Qing's foundation establishment cultivation and the Xianmen Tianzong behind him. Yang Qing cupped his hands, and it was considered a return greeting. Wang Zhuo's lips moved, and in the end, his eyes revealed a complicated and sad expression. He turned around and left on the long saber. Ever since the Desolate Sea Assembly, Wang Zhuo already knew that he was no longer on the same level as Wang Lin. However, this time, it was he who had to look up to Wang Lin. Not long after Wang Lin returned home, Wang Zhuo also returned to his hometown to visit his family. When he saw Wang Lin again, he was shocked to find that even if he looked up, he could not even see the soles of Wang Lin's feet. Yang Qing looked at the leaving Wang Zhuo and shook his head. He turned around and continued walking forward. Suddenly, his heart moved slightly, and he looked forward. He saw Wang Lin looking at him calmly at the end of the street. At this moment, Wang Lin did not have any cold and murderous aura, and there was no fluctuation of Dharma power around him. From his temperament and appearance, he looked like an ordinary youth that could not be any more ordinary. With this appearance, it was no wonder that people who did not know the truth would question his strength. Seeing Yang Qing, Wang Lin nodded. "Master has already told me why you are here, come with me." You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.